Welcome, friends. Let us together rebuild this world so that we may live, laugh, and lore.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Not listening. I'm not listening.
Fool of a took.
Program loaded and ready.
Make it so.
Welcome to the Live, Laugh, Lore podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Tony.
And I'm Mark.
Mark, what do we have today?
Got a special guest episode.
Can you believe it?
I know, and I'm excited. It feels so long since I've been here, Tony, since we're doing the month schedule, and I wasn't on the last episode, so I'm happy. I'm very happy to be back.
Oh, I totally forgot it was the One Piece episode.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Mark. Hey, well, welcome back.
It feels like an extended vacation of something.
Yeah. Did you go to the Bahamas or something?
I don't know,
yeah, something. But yeah, without further ado, we do have a special guest. We have Aaron here with us. Aaron.
Howdy.
Yeah, so the reason why we're bringing in Aaron today is we're going to talk about Warhammer 40,000. And more specifically, why Aaron's in here is because he's a bad influence, needless to say.
I'm a giant nerd.
Yeah. I came in, we worked together. I came in one day and I was like, man, I'm really thinking about this Warhammer 40,000. And Aaron said the few words that just strike in the heart of all men who think about the hobby. And he said, don't
do it. Don't do it, Tony.
And you know what I did? I took that as reverse psychology.
Yeah.
I went, whoa. If he's telling me not to do it, that means it's the business. So I have to do it.
I tried.
So Aaron, really quick. So, what kind of got you into this room, right? What was kind of your 40K journey? What kind of started it off? Was it the books? Was it the wargaming? Was it a mixture of the two? Kind of what got you here?
Yeah, so I've always been big into strategy games kind of writ large. The first computer game I ever played was Warcraft 2, back before World of Warcraft existed, right? All 32 bits of the glory of that game, right? So I've always been into those sorts of things. It was right before the pandemic hit that a buddy of mine started getting into it. I'm like, this looks pretty cool. I take that back. I had done a little bit of tabletop wargaming when I was really young. A game called Mage Knights.
Okay.
So,
I've heard of it, but
yeah,
never
same
played.
Sort of concept as like Hero Clicks, where like all the stats are on the dial.
Yeah,
so that was pretty cool.
I did the Star Wars version. That's why I knew it. There was a Hasbro. Yeah, you did the clicks, and when you went up, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'd done that sort of stuff. My buddy, right before the pandemic, started getting into it. So our friend group all kind of got into it. I'm kind of the last one standing, except for one, but it's all good.
Were they on our team?
No.
Oh, okay, so different. Okay.
Yeah, well, I guess Ryan was.
Oh, okay, but
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I thought this was like sage knowledge from tens and tens of years ago. This is pandemic.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I guess we're almost at tens of years.
I know.
That.
The pandemic was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was like, was that last year?
Yeah. We're over the halfway, right? I guess.
Well, that's why I was like, aren't we? Wasn't that just last year? Sorry about that. So it hasn't been years. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we all started getting into the game. Yeah. I always liked building Legos and stuff as a kid. So putting the model kits together scratched that itch as an adult when I had some disposable income, right? Really got into the game. As part of that, the people who make it Games Workshop, they do a very good job of like packaging the lore aspect, the game, the vibe, all of that stuff into one very, very enticing package to maximize people buying into the hobby, which they nailed it.
Yeah. Dude, credit where credit's due.
Oh, for sure.
Someone's like, it's crazy to me because when you say disposable income, kind of need some disposable income here.
You sure do.
And when you look at it,
any good hobby does.
Any good hobby does.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, you think you're like, I just spent that much money on plastic. But then it's crazy. Like the stuff it does to your brain, it's like, it's such a symphony. It's, you know what I mean? Like, never done a drug, but that's my drug. Oh my gosh.
Plastic crack, baby.
Yeah, plastic crack. Oh, it's so good. I don't know what it is. Their sculpts are beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, go to different games, like you see sculpts, it's like the actual the artist behind the models to show off and make it more conducive to painting and stuff like that, where some models look really beautiful, but when you go to paint them, they're like horrible. You know what I mean? It's like paintability and all that other fun stuff. But yeah, Warhammer just rides that line. Great.
Tony, when you said that, it gave me the image. I don't know if you guys have seen those videos or whatever, when it's like when you need a break but you don't smoke, and they've all got different things. Like one guy's got the pastries, leaning against the wall. The
Diet Coke.
The Diet Coke. It's you leaning against the wall, opening up a new model kit.
Oh yeah. It just scratches an itch, man. It's so good, and it's so good. But yeah, sorry, keep going, Aaron.
No, it's all good.
When you were saying that, I was like, oh man, They really did score.
Oh yeah, they nailed it.
It's like World of Warcraft. It's like, how did you get this many people to play that many hours on this thing? It's like, you guys caught lightning in the bottle, but the scary part is they continually do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Games Workshop just like came up like a couple of years ago. They've been doing this for a pretty darn long time.
Like 1980s, late 80s, I think. And you can see that a lot in the older like lore and the art that they have. It's definitely got that kind of late 80s heavy metal kind of vibe. That is kind of cool in and of itself. They've kind of changed over the years, the aesthetic of a lot of things, but yeah, they've kept a lot of the core elements the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so, got into it right around the pandemic. My circle of friends, they started kind of dropping out for various reasons. I kept up with it because I loved the game so much. I did the thing. I'm a big-time introvert, right? So I did a really big step. I'm like, all right, let's go play games with random strangers. Let's look for tournament scenes locally here. And so got involved in that, kind of showing up more and more often. Eventually wound up as part of the group that organizes kind of my local area. So a lot of the larger and smaller tournaments, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I've run a few of the smaller tournaments, helped with some of the bigger tournaments, and just kind of try to be a big participant in the community.
Yeah, and you'll hear that too. So the local tournaments that are smaller are RTs.
RTTs. So
RTTs.
That used to stand for, I think, Rogue Trader Tournament, and Rogue Traders are kind of an archetype within the 40K universe.
And a video game.
A really good video game. Strong recommend.
So many people keep texting me about it. They're like, you like Baldur's Gate and you're into Warhammer. You should play Rogue Trader. I'm like,
it's real good. It's real good.
I got to.
Yeah. We are not sponsored by Owlcat, by the way. This is a free endorsement for them.
Yeah. Also, Games Workshop. We're going to talk a lot about them and their IP. Yeah.
So traders are those who followed Horus, right?
No, well, yes, but rogue traders are different.
Okay.
It's trader is in TRADER as opposed to traitor.
But
we're all Midwesterners, right? So our T's in the middle of words are D's. So it's indistinguishable verbally.
And I like sat there too because what makes it harder is this is British game. So when they spell like demons, it's like daemons, and whenever I read that, I'm like, what? Are they like color? They add the U. It's like, what is going on? But
yeah, it's funny. So a while back, they've got a lot of named characters in the universe, heroes and villains and such. And there's always been debate in the community about how you pronounce certain things. And they released a video maybe a year or two ago kind of giving the canon pronunciation of some of those things. But they did one thing that, as an American, I was displeased with. They were talking about the rank of lieutenant. They pronounce it lieutenant. I'm like, I get it, you guys. But I'm not going to say it that way.
No way.
No, absolutely not.
You hear in these old war movies, they're like lieutenant, and you're like, dude, what?
Well, and that's just how the Brits say that rank. And like the military ranks in general are weird because like colonel in both U.S. and British English is like not spelled how it sounds at all. It's actually like the Italian spelling, colonnello. But we pronounce it colonel with an R instead of an L. It's super weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you need military history, Aaron's your guy.
I'm a huge nerd in that realm as well.
There
you go.
Where I come with space lasers and fantasy, Aaron is that much and more with history and Warhammer and everything.
Well, maybe I'll do another separate war lore.
Exactly. Dude, you guys should.
History is like my realm.
So, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Mark always wants to do history, and I'm like, dude.
I'm there, brother.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular era you like?
I'm huge in the Civil War, but I also love.
We're men in our close to 30s. We got
Civil Revolutionary, and then obviously the World Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Who doesn't love a good World War? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The history. I don't want a live one.
No, please God no.
Less history. Yeah. But so we kind of teased out of we're talking about Warhammer, and I think really what we wanted to capture in this episode is kind of a two-parter. First part is going over and saying, hey, by the way, we're talking about Warhammer. What does that even mean, right? What's the era? What are we talking about? Just for any listener who hears Warhammer 40,000, like, isn't that what Henry Cavill likes? You're like, okay, yes, but let's go more in depth. And then the second part is going over tournaments and all that fun stuff, the actual gameplay of the side, the hobbying and gameplay, if you will. So kind of going to the first one, when you think of Warhammer 40,000, I think some of the typical, tropes and themes are just grimdark, right? It's just this war-torn grimdark. They always bring it up. And just from a really top level, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong at any of this point, but basically you kind of have humans, right? And humans are rocking and rolling, doing what they're doing. And there's a couple of adversaries against the humans. One of the adversaries is Xenos, which is any non-human. And you might ask yourself, well, isn't couldn't there possibly be weird, variations of human? And if there's such variation of human, then they are now considered human, or are they considered xenos? Because we're in a universe, right? And they're spread across, right?
And that's okay. There's a special term for them, and it's mutant. And they're also supposed to be purged.
Yeah, okay.
There is no peace among the stars.
Yeah. So, exactly that, right? There's literally, like, they have, like, testers where they're, like, checking, you're like, what's your, basically, heritage up to human. And if it's within a tolerable level, you're okay. But if you're not, you better be praying to whatever God is going to help you out. Yeah.
Unless you're useful.
Unless you're useful, which we'll get, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So make yourself useful.
So make yourself, yeah. It's called a compliance. We don't like to, we don't like to get down to it. But so basically what ends up happening is the fact of that, so you have that one adversary. You have the adversary, you have, humans, xenos, any non-human. But then you have these humans that, exactly what Mark was saying, they're these traitors, which is like chaos and all the other fun stuff. And there's a bunch of stuff that kind of goes into that. They are now fundamentally against the Imperium, which is humans, Emperor Mankind leading up the force there. And then you have this Chaos faction, which is, once again, don't know too much about. I know enough to be dangerous, but the reason why I don't know enough is because we're actually in a book club together, and we're reading the prequel to all this. So this is in the 40th millennia, is where I'm getting at. So before we go to the 30th millennia, where all this stuff is kind of building up, Aaron, did I miss anything, you think? If you had to explain Warhammer 40,000 to some individual, would you kind of go that route of, hey, we got humans, we got Xenos, we got the Chaos?
Yeah.
Anything else you kind of add in before we get into the weeds?
That is the 10,000-foot view.
Yeah, okay.
And so colloquially, if that's how you say that word, it's referred to as like 40K and 30K, right?
Yes.
So 30K
fewer syllables.
Yeah.
Yep, fewer syllables. Yeah. So you can say millennia. Yeah, it's a little lot. And it's also really important to know that space racism is very okay in 40th millennia. They're very xenophobic. They're also very anti-chaos. That's the Imperium. Hook, line, and sinker. Right? If you are not of them, you know what I mean? That's really what it gets down to.
Very conservative, superstitious, xenophobic. It's not a place that I would ever want to live.
Yeah, no. Especially for normies like us. We are chaff and chaff alone.
I would become a human robot slave.
Yeah, servitors. Yeah. That's literally part of it. Like, basically, you're part of like if you're like a normie, you're like either on a compliance world where you're helping them out. Compliance world meaning like basically they're saying you're part of the Imperium, therefore you are now, basically have like these ties, if you will, where like your world is supplying materials, people, whatever it might be, to the cause of the Imperium to wipe out all the things. It's also kind of important to note that we have the Imperium, we have the Xenos, we have the Chaos. It's also important to note that like in between all this is the Immaterium. That's how like they travel to places in between. It's kind of like it's almost like a dimension, if you will.
Yeah.
It's like a rip in space-time, whatever you want to consider it. Like there's like normal travel. If you want to travel faster than light, you go through the Immaterium or the warp. Samey, right?
Yeah.
And so the reason why I bring that up is just kind of setting the stage of like, okay, what is this warp? What's going on? It's kind of like hell incarnate. If like, it's basically this rich atmosphere of, chaos. There's gods, there's demons, there's this, there's that, and it's all trying to basically corrupt individuals, and that's where the chaos, the corruption, the traitors, that's that second portion. So when we say chaos, we really mean not like just people who just want to, like the jokers of the world, right? No joke, they're jokers, but more importantly, they're also influenced by warp beings. So there's like gods, there's a pantheon, right? Mm-hmm. So you got these chaos gods also kind of going into it. You have Slanesh, you have Khorne, you have Nurgle, and you have Tzeentch. Best for last, as always. Now, let's just get this out of the way. I'm a chaos man. It's what it is. Aaron is a do-gooder.
Yeah, normie, humie, enjoyer.
Yeah. But I do have to note this for the podcast. When you play Skyrim, and you're so curious, like, who chooses an Ord, right? Don't you just want to, like, sit down, relax in a game, and just enjoy, like shedding the human corporeal body and going into some mage user or something?
Yeah.
And you're always curious, like, why do the game devs even bother putting a human, like, knight character? people like
It's
Aaron.
for me.
Aaron.
And it wasn't even a Nord. I played the Imperial. Even more basic.
Yeah.
But we were talking about that at work one day, and he was like, but we went into like 3 other games, and you're like, yeah, human.
Yeah, I'm a dirty godless humanist. What do you want from me?
It just made me chuckle so
Hey, at
hard.
least he's admits it, and he stands by it. You know, he stands by it.
Because here's my thing. Of course, I too want to be a do-gooder, right? That's what my heart wants. But then I saw this Egyptian-esque space wizards, and I was like, well, I mean, I've got to go after that. You know what I
Normally,
mean?
you are a do-gooder, Tony.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
This is new for me. That you're on the chaos side.
On record, I'm a do-gooder. But space wizards, come on. I mean, I'll dabble in some chaos. And also, let's be honest, of all the chaos people,
Zinch is the coolest.
Zinch is the coolest.
100%.
And then also, did he really do anything wrong? I don't know. So we don't have to go into that. But that's a whole joke and the whole thing. But the reason why I bring all that up is setting like the context of like what's kind of going on here, right? You have these galactic battles. You also have this like demonic influence battle going on, and all this stuff kind of bleeds into these big power dynamics, and that's why it's like grimdark. Like basically, it's forever war. So you ask yourself, like, okay, like why is forever war happening? What's going on here? And now we get to like 30K. Just for also some context, when we start talking about it, Aaron and I, we were at work, and I was like, hey, I'm really thinking about like reading some of the book series. I'm thinking about attacking this thing called the Horus Heresy. And Aaron's like, oh my gosh. And so he kind of got into it, right? Like we talked about it, then we got a couple other people into it. So we have like a book club of like 8 people.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. And originally, when I first heard it from an outside looker in, I was always very much like, oh my gosh, like, so we're just going to read about like this war city. Like, it sounds really like badass, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be this really cool, like, there's this war and there's going to be this fighting and there's this got space racism and everything's going to be crazy. And they're just going to talk about these really epic sci-fi battles, basically Star Wars, but with a little more grit, is what I was kind of taking it as. And I tell you this now, of this book is so much deeper than all that. And I think that's what, like, from an outsider looking in, 10,000 foot view, like, I always got that impression, but, like, I can legitimately say, like, this book has changed me in ways I was not expecting. Of, like, I will seriously, like, think at, like, once again, like, at a stoplight and just, like, sit there and be like, what is going on? Like, just really, really processing it. So before we kind of started about 30K in the prequels, Aaron, what was your kind of thoughts on the book? Did you kind of have the same idea about the lore? Were you coming in with the same kind of apprehension?
Yeah,
Not apprehension, but expectation.
Yeah, because I mean, in being part of the kind of 40K realm, right? Just reading the lore for my own armies, etc. For just talking to people in the community about their armies' lore and all of that, and just watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, what have you, just to learn more about it when you get into it.
Yep.
You get some things. There are some definite spoilers that I'm aware of or that are coming within the Horus Heresy. So I knew some of the major notes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, kind of like you, it was a lot deeper. It was in a very good way. It's exploring concepts of like faith is a huge recurring theme about brotherhood, trust, loyalty. Things like freedom of expression and press are coming in. And one of the things that 40K is somewhat famous for is they parody, because I think ultimately the 40K universe is satire, right? They're making fun of these horrific, out-and-out fascist authoritarian governments, of which the Imperium of Mankind is one. But there's a lot of, how do those things actually come into fruition? What are the processes that get you there? And a lot of those kinds of things are showing up throughout the Horus Heresy series.
And sustain themselves, right?
Yeah.
Why aren't they just burned up in a, like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd think that, like, surely, like, they're burning bright, therefore they should burn short. And, like, no, they're going across millennia. That's crazy, you know what I mean, for this power structure. And so, Mark, by the way, when you were doing your little bit of research, did you kind of feel like, what's kind of your thoughts, like, looking in the Horus, like, or not Horus Heresy specifically, like Warhammer, right?
Yeah.
Was that kind of like your vibe a little bit? Like, big gun, kill count goes up, good, like?
Yes, absolutely. And I was wondering, because you said worlds earlier, plural.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So compared to Star Wars, is it like a galaxy? Is it bigger than like a Star Wars galaxy, or?
I have a map right there.
That'd
Might
be
not be
perfect.
great for our audio listeners, but
We can post it, Tony.
Yeah,
We can post
yeah.
it.
That one, yeah, we'll have to see. But yes, it's very much like they're traveling. Now the expansiveness of it, that's kind of hard to tell. Like I don't know the scale.
Yeah, I can talk to a little bit. So, right, the universe is set, like Tony said, in the 41st millennium, and it is within the Milky Way galaxy. Right, so it is the entire galaxy that the Imperium nominally controls, but like not really. There's a lot of nuance there.
Yep. Terra is home base.
Yep. Earth.
Yep.
And it's horrible.
Oh yeah, no. Like the moon is basically they like don't refer to it as a moon anymore. It's like this is the satellite. It is the protector of Terra. It is like armed to the teeth, and you're like, oh my gosh. And they're like, now it's like night is not the scary time. Night is actually the good time because now you know your side of the earth is heavily protected where the other side of the earth is no longer protected.
Yeah.
Like that's wild. Like what a crazy. But yeah, no spoilers there, but they were talking about that in the book. But yeah. I was like sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh. That's crazy.
And then most people on Earth and throughout the Imperium live very short, sharp, brutal lives of being worked to death, quite literally. It's not a good time.
Nope. And if you don't comply with it, they just kind of lobotomize you, and then they stick basically a computer in your brain. So like you can just say like, yes, no, maybe so kind of deal, and you're a servitor at this point.
And most of the time, they wipe your memory and consciousness.
Oh, big time. Yeah. So
Not always.
your corporeal body is there, but your essence is not there.
Usually.
Typically. Allegedly. Yeah.
So 40K came first. As far as creation of the.
It's kind of like it's also exactly like Star Wars. Like
Right, you did
4,
the
5, and 6 came first, and then they're like, yeah, we should probably.
So is there more like source material, like books and stuff for 40K, or does 30K have like more books per se?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'm not sure. So, I mean, the Horus Heresy series, I think is up past 50 books at this point total.
54 books, 52 books, and each of these books
And
are
that's
like
30K, the Horus Heresy?
Yes.
30K, and that is they're like each like anywhere from like 200 to 500 plus pages. Each of those 52 books,
they're
54
pretty healthy.
books. They're healthy books. So just to give you perspective of like, yeah, I think Star Wars has like a lot of books, but once again, they can't figure out what's canon, what's
Yeah,
extended.
that's true, yeah.
So just off books alone, I think 40K. Sorry, when I say 40K, the Warhammer universe probably trumps. You know what I mean? Star Wars easily, but when you say 30K to 40K, I don't know.
Yeah, because I know within the 40K universe, there's a lot more focus on some of the other factions and beings that are out there. So most of the literature is kind of human-centric just because from a reader standpoint, we can kind of understand, oh, yeah, well, these are humans. We are humans ourselves, or at least I assume you guys are.
Next question.
But there's some sort of like basis on which you can begin to understand and sympathize with the characters. So,
oh man, yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
I want to get into that too, but yes, yeah.
So there are a lot of books that are very imperial centric, but they kind of run the gamut from like these very dogmatic, we're towing the imperial line all the way through to like these scrappy, maybe slightly heretical kinds of characters.
Yeah.
But then you also have a lot of books that go in and talk about some of the other factions. So Tony mentioned Chaos. There are entire books dedicated to, particular demons and some of their dealings. There are some that deal with a lot of the alien races, the Xenos, and those species kind of run the gamut from, kind of human-ish to like completely inhuman machines.
Yeah, and they're crazy. Like some of that goes way back. Like I think the War of Heaven is like Necrons and all that fun stuff. And there's like, that's crazy lore too. So like, it's crazy where you can just take a faction, or like when we say faction, like on the no joke table, you can take that faction and like the lore behind it is wild, and that may cover 30K, may cover 40K, may cover both, kind of deal. So
yeah, it can even go further back. Because I think Tony, since
War
you
in
brought up
Heaven
the War in Heaven is, that happened. I think before even like Earth humans were really much of a thing.
No,
right?
yeah. This is like
prehistory, right?
Yeah.
And that was
Arrow Luvatar is the secret of flame, like Lord of the Rings when Arda was getting created. Like it's that point of like creation, but not so heavy on creation. But yeah, that's what I call it, War in Heaven. Like it's this weird,
yeah. And there were alien species that existed back then, and they basically controlled the Milky Way at that point, and they fought each other almost to the point of extinction.
Yep.
And some of those persist into kind of the 30 and 40th millennia within kind of the scope of the lore. But yeah, depending on which faction you choose, there is literally books and books and books of lore that you can dive into.
And the cool... Oh, sorry.
So you said Milky Way. So is this set in like our...
Yep.
Yeah.
This is ours.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This
I didn't
is
realize
us
that.
in
Okay.
40, 39,
Okay.
whatever.
Hopefully not,
Yeah, hopefully
but-
not. Yeah. Ideally not. But Aaron brought up a great example with that. So in a book club, we went through, and so one of the individuals, Austin, absolutely fantastic guy reading through, and I got him into it. So what Aaron did to me is what I did to Austin, so therefore Aaron did it to both of us by transitive property.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Austin, you're welcome. But more importantly, it's crazy because he's a big Space Wolves guy, which is part of the Imperium. It's one of the factions. We can get way into it. All good. But the point is the fact that I'm Chaos, which 1,000 Suns is my chapter, but they beef a lot. So my book, if I want to read just 1,000 Suns, I will also read everything of the Space Wolves because they're entwined, right, in all these battles and everything. So it's really fun because I'm like, oh, I really want to read the next, these 6 set of books, and Austin's like, I really want to read them. I was like, why do you really want to read them? And it's like, oh, well, they're my book series. She was like, why is it your book series? That's what we figured out. Some of these factions way overline on each other. So it's a good example of you get more of that faction versus this faction. And so the depth and the fidelity of the depth, it really kind of depends on where you kind of want to pick and choose. But it seems to be much more manageable than if you're hey, I want to get a Marvel comic. Let me read about, Doctor Strange, and then you have to go through that long. I tried to do that once. It was very hard because it's the multiverse, this and this author and that author, and it's just oh my gosh. But now Warhammer is such a beast, it's got all that stuff too, but at least it seems seems navigable. You know what I mean? Just seems like you can do it. One more thing I'm gonna bring up on Xenos. Some Xenos get a footnote, and they're oh, this one, and then they exterminate them, and they're whatever, they're done. And then other Xenos get full-on factions, full books, and everything like that. So they kind of have a really big aperture of what they cover, because it could be as quick as you go on Wikipedia, or you know what I mean, it might be a little footnote, or they have 6 pages, and it's oh, okay, there's a lot more going on there. So, but yeah, with all that being said, that's kind of the setting, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if we were going into it, what's Horus Heresy? What's 30K? What are we talking about? What's all going on to that? And that really kind of bleeds into Aaron's kind of original points, how did we get here? How did we get to this power struggle of everything kind of going on? And it first kind of goes up with, there's this basically pre-time, I can't remember what it's called, but is it called the Age of Strife? Is when they don't have, they basically humans were on Terra, Earth, they're rocking and rolling. They then went to the stars. Something happened in which they could no longer travel anymore, and they basically all got separated. And now it's kind of up back on Terra. They're hey, we need to progress the human race. And the only way to do that is now to have this Imperial truth, thank you. And what that basically meant was they're we can no longer squabble over this thing of religion. Nah, we're not doing it anymore. Wipe all the religions out. You are now secular truth. We are humans. We need to regain us as a humans. The only way we're going to survive in this world, or only way we can truly build and continue our race on, we have to look super inward, take all this extra chaff out, focus up, regain the human. So now what we have to do is we have to do this great crusade of regaining all these planets and these other humans back into the fold of the Imperium. With them, they had now deal with the imperial truth. She's keep messing that up. Whole point is they have to go into it. Pretty same. Is that what's going on?
So you kind of have you hit on kind of the major points. Humanity kind of went out, conquered the stars to a large extent, and they were more of the Star Trek version of humanity, right? They got along with a lot of the alien species. They had fantastic technology. That's the good ending for humanity.
Yeah.
So in the 40K universe, that time is referred to as the Dark Age of technology. we'll get into why here in just a moment. But you mentioned kind of the Age of Strife, right? So that is the event. The birth of Slanesh is what that was. One of the Chaos Gods.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You can thank the Eldar for that. One of the Xeno species.
Yeah, you could really thank him for that. Let's just say they're into the overconsumption of everything.
Yes.
Right?
So is this happening in like the 20,000 year range?
Yeah, so kind of the golden age of humanity, the dark age of technology was like the 20th millennia, roughly around there. And then at some point after that, there was basically a giant war between the golden age humans and like AI, basically.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah.
So the humans had finally gotten that under control, and then they lost the ability to travel through the warp, which prevented them from having any sort of FTL travel. So like Tony said, kind of stranded humans all across the galaxy. A lot of them kind of collapsed because they had relied on this huge intergalactic trading network, et cetera, et cetera. So on Terra, Earth, the Emperor of Mankind, as he dubbed himself, effectively reconquered the Earth. And like Tony said, he started this great crusade to reclaim the galaxy in the name of humanity. And he has some reasons for wanting humans to be secular. That will be revealed later in the Horus Heresy series, I think.
Yeah.
There is a plan. I know it, but I will refrain from spoiling it here.
Yeah, I feel like I know probably inklings of it as they're kind of suggesting, but yeah, I think they've talked about it a little bit on some of the books. But sorry, really quick, the only thing I want to add is, Mark, seriously. So we're Cradle Catholic, we've talked about on the podcast all the time. Read is it The Last Church on Terra?
The Last Church.
Just The Last Church?
Yeah.
Last Church by Graham McNeil. They actually adapted it did an adaptation on it on YouTube. If you just literally look up Last Church, Graham McNeil, like it's like the first one, dude. It talk about a thinker. Like you'll walk away and being like, oh my gosh,
Wow, okay.
Because just for context, this is the last church on Terra, and the Emperor Mankind is basically talking with the priest leader there, and they just go back and forth, and those conversations are I think every single person needs to hear something of that kin, because both make really great. It's not one's one greater than the other, right? It's never therefore this. There's kind of going back and forth, but they're both hitting each other's with these jabs that are so thought provoking. It's you walk away, you're oh my gosh, they really need to show this more. It really is really, really solid. So sorry but that goes into Aaron's point of dubbing himself the Emperor of Mankind. Needs to, unite everybody and needs this truth. Well, how do you do it? You got to wipe out the church. What does that mean? And then this is one of those books that is a little bit of a banger right there. So
yeah, it's a really quick read. I think it's I don't know, the YouTube video is less than 2 hours long.
Yeah, it's hour 40, not even. Yeah. And that's even with some extra stuff that's on it. You know what I mean? So I think the read is probably pretty darn quick.
Yeah, it's a very thought-provoking, philosophical kind of read about, secularism versus religion and pros and cons, and not just pros and cons, but applying it and what it does for people, or if you don't have it, what are some results that can stem from that?
Because some of the what I think is really powerful too is you can talk about secularism in a vacuum and then kind of go pros and cons this way. You can do religion in a vacuum, go pros and cons this way, but they're not in a vacuum. They have the context, and they're both spearing each other with each, and that's where it's oh my gosh, you know what I mean? It's really good.
Yeah, and the religion in that book is made up, but you can draw parallels to anything that any of us would be familiar with.
True.
Right? It's a really cool story.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too. I don't want it if everyone's thinking, oh, they're attacking this. It's no, they're just attacking the idea, right? You know what I mean? It's not they're ever saying, oh no, this religion or that religion.
Right.
It's very, you know what I mean? I think the only time they bring up the Americas, you know what I mean? It's just this one thing on Terra. So they don't even get into countries really.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Referring to the continents.
Yeah,
the land masses. Yeah.
Even then, you know what I mean? Well, we're in 20th, millennia.
Right. Things are different.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, all the water on Earth is gone.
Yeah. Which is
horrible.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's nice to know that the war with AI is millennia away.
Yeah, well, you're right. Yeah, the singularity. You know what I mean? It did happen.
Yeah.
And we ended up on top, which is good. But how on top we ended up is questionable.
Yeah.
They didn't listen to Asimov. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, abominable intelligence is what they refer to AI as, which is kind of funny. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they'll still call it AI, but it's abominable intelligence.
Yeah, that's why they do like servitors and like it's kind of like, oh my gosh, it's very much like Dune. Dune's the same way, where like there's like they have like computation power, but it's not computation in the classical sense. It's like they like genetically breed that one person who like flips his eyes back and like, this is how much spice is going to take, and like them to calculate their runs is based on like this, so there's like same kind of logic here. They're like astropaths, like someone is physically on the reins like doing these calculations. So just FYI. So Battlestar Galactica is very much, oh my gosh, all three of those. No technology bad, how do you do this stuff that's very complex? You figure out another way. So. But so we're kind of going through the Emperor's trial and tribulations of now he successfully has got the Imperial truth and now does the Great Crusade, correct? Is that where we're kind of at? Okay.
Yeah. So the Great Crusade happens. The Horus Heresy occurs for some period of time there. Again, the 50 books or whatever kind of cover that whole journey.
Yeah.
So then following that, it's really, this heresy kind of shook the Imperium to its core, fractured it in so many different ways. And then kind of the intervening years between the Horus Heresy and kind of the 41st millennium in which 40K proper takes place, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens, the Imperium trying to like figure itself out. You see kind of this regression from this, very science-forward, secular humanity back to a much more conservative, superstitious, cult-like behavior that worships the Emperor of Mankind.
Who's not a religion. It's a...
Yeah.
He is now, a godlike figure, but, you're right. They got literally like... what do they call it? Not celebration worlds, devotion worlds or whatever.
Shrine worlds.
Yeah,
it's an entire world dedicated to the worship of the Emperor of Mankind and his angels, the Space Marines and Primarchs.
Yeah, so it's very much like God, demigod, and then whatever you want to call
angels.
Astartes, angels. Yeah. So that's a pretty big jump, right? Yeah, kind of where we're going. And I think one thing I really do want to focus on is, and that's kind of like timeline 10,000 foot view. I'm pretty sure Aaron and I could go 4 hours on this.
Easy.
And much as I would like to do, we now learned that space is a thing on my computer. So, keep in mind. We still have like 30 gigs, but you know what I mean? We were recording the One Piece episode last time. I was like, man, I'm pretty sure we could have let longer. And I like looked at my hard drive. I was like, oh, that was way closer than I probably should have made it. I cleared some stuff up. We're all good. But the reason why I'm kind of bringing all that stuff and trying to take a step back is I'd rather not, I don't want to spoil anything of the Horus Heresy, but what I want to do is like maybe motivate other people listening in on this and going, okay, well, if any of that has caught your attention, fantastic. Now, we kind of talked about a little bit, we kind of like teased a little bit out of it, but like specifically these Horus Heresy books, like they're so well written. It's crazy to me. Like, and now reading them, it makes me so mad for the prequels on Star Wars, sequels on Star Wars, and I don't want to get too much into this, but Mark, every single book is a new author. So the 4 books we read so far, all brand new authors every book. But are
they like linearly?
Linearly,
yeah. Okay, so they're right after another. Okay.
It's so cohesive. Like, you'll notice some artists or some authors will take like liberties, and some of their explanations are different, or like how they do viewpoints or how they kind of approach these problems will be different. But like the story is cohesive. Like if you gave me a whiteboard, and if you gave us a whiteboard and a pen, we could write down the whole storyline front to back, and you wouldn't see a skip. It's not like one author's like, oh God, I hate that guy, and they just like went out. So it's like, this is how you do it. Like, what Star Wars is complaining about this. I'm like, they have 54 books like this, and all of them, maybe the cohesiveness maybe gets a little shoddy, maybe in the mid tier.
I've heard that there's been some weird deviations and like the quality drops in some of the books, but like you've got 54 books. Like, not all of them are going to be bangers.
Yeah.
Correct.
And if you did, then why are we reading anything else? Also, you know how they get around that? This is all in perspective of people. So if there's any inaccuracies, they're like, it's just a retelling.
Yep.
It could be true, it could be not. This is just this person experiencing what they've experienced and how they're approaching the problem. And it's like, oh, that's like a really great, not like cop-out, but like that's a good lore-driven reason as to why this is not.
That's funny because when J.R.R. Tolkien wrote The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So people noticed some differences when The Lord of the Rings came out, and they asked him to explain it. He goes, "That's simple. Bilbo's a liar."
Oh,
Yeah.
Just because it was differences in The Hobbit, right?
Yeah.
It was Bilbo's story. He goes, "Yeah, Bilbo's a liar."
yeah. He wrote the book.
Yeah.
It's a book about writing itself.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to look at that, you know. Aslan can talk, but this is,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
No, then
yeah.
he probably didn't even know what inaccuracies there were. That was a coverall. You know?
But it's brilliant. It's brilliant, you know?
Yeah, and that's kind of how, kind of looking at this from a meta sense, right? Games Workshop, the company, is kind of adjusted the lore over the years. And as with any sort of like dedicated community and a nerdy hobby such as this, right, you're going to have people who get upset about the lore, which, fair enough, that's completely understandable. But a lot of the justification has been like, well, yeah, this has always been, or yeah, this was a telling by somebody else, or I think the line that they use is like, everything is canon, but not everything is true. And so there's a lot of people in the 40K community will kind of pick and choose what lore they think is like actually canon, actually cool, and then some of the stuff that maybe they liked less are like, forget about that.
Don't worry about it.
That's not the real deal. That's
don't look
just
at
made
that
up
one.
bull.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that in Super Troopers? Do you guys watch Super Troopers?
Yeah.
When he's practicing his shots and there's that stray, he's like, don't worry about that one.
Yeah.
How you shooting? 9 for 10 today. Well, what about that guy? I don't worry about that guy. Yeah. But,
Exactly.
that's a perfect thing, too, because the other thing I have noticed, I've gone on the Reddit, and originally I thought, like, oh, man, this is pretty stuffy. All Reddits are somewhat stuffy.
Yeah.
But the hoops and valleys that people have to jump through to show those inaccuracies also proves how good some of that stuff is. I'm like, wait, you are referencing 4 different books at 4 different times with 4 different authors, and like that is the inaccuracy. I'm like, first off, I mean, give it to them a little bit. You know what I mean? That was a lot of effort and work to get through that. There's some 1,000 Suns like that where I was like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's all good, and they're a popular faction, so it makes sense. But no, the other reason why I want to bring all this stuff up is to go over and say, okay, so not only is it like this aspect of, wow, they're having these different authors and they're moving through, but the story is like, once again, I was totally blindsided because I knew what I was expecting was these high, epic battles and everything like that. But it's like the depth of these stories is crazy. And the other thing too, Mark, is we started off with all that stuff, Aaron, of course, but we're reading the book, so I don't have to reference that. But the other thing is the fact that we started off where this is a grimdark universe. Nothing works out. And you know this as a reader. But when you read these books, you see these great people. They do it in such a good way that you know it's not going to resolve well. But, like, it's such a good written, well thought out story that, like, you legit believe that this character is going to make it. Like, something's going to happen and some good is going to happen in the world right now. And then it doesn't. But it's not a feel bad moment of like, oh, it didn't resolve itself. But it didn't resolve itself, but it left some other things open. And then that's when someone else takes the, you know what I mean? And starts. So it's like so beautifully, like every single time I finish one of the books, within 2 days, I'm reading the next one. Like no pause, no breaks, all gas. Like
So it's not
crazy.
like Game of Thrones where some character dies for no reason.
Yeah, like those are potentially some feel bad ones. Are
Yeah.
like, hey, they died. This is what reality is. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of George R. R. Martin, like kind of
his
going
vibe,
off.
yeah.
And there is aspects of that, I think, in the
Yeah.
story. But there's equally aspects of like, like, well, why did they die? And then that exposes something greater, and then that becomes now a storyline and a through line. So it feels much more like a continuum rather than just like abrupt, like dead, see you bye. You know what I mean? So even the most dead see you bye thing that just happened in our book 3, you know what I mean? That
Maybe it's not the end.
maybe it's not the end kind of deal. And then you're like, oh my God, there's a dream. It could maybe happen. And then maybe it doesn't. I have no idea. But still reading on. But yeah, I'm just so bewildered at how enraptured I am. Every single time I read these books is like, it's like I can effectively say like I'm in the golden era right now of my life of like audio media. You know what I mean? I'm watching One Piece. I'm doing Warhammer. It's like this is crazy. I feel like I'm back in high school watching Star Trek, Star Wars, and like Lord of the Rings and all this stuff for the first time. I'm like, this is crazy. This media is so good. So I don't know. Do you have any other comments on the books, Aaron, that you want to kind of talk over? Anything I might have missed on
No, I mean, it's
feelings, emotions, anything like that?
It's really good. Yeah, a lot deeper than just kind of these superhuman space marines who are separate from humanity but are fighting for them nominally. Because
Good point.
they are actually like characters, and you start to grow attached to them and so forth. You are compelled by their struggles. And in the books, too, they also follow some of the normies, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of play interesting and pivotal roles. Like, from intellectuals all the way down to like lowly servants of the Astartes, right? They all have these characters, personalities, arcs, and it all ties together very nicely. There's a lot of good kind of setups and payoff with all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the only other thing that I kind of want to mention, just to get it down to like, isn't it like, there's a lot of push and pull here from all these different themes and things happening. But here's like some liners that like really stuck with me, is that these Astartes are genetically engineered to basically, they're effectively immortal. Barring anything, if nothing were to happen to them, they can live for thousands of years. And it's crazy because you have these immortal beings, but they know they're going to die one day. And their goal is just to die in the most glorious way fashion, with either defending their Primarch, doing the role, doing everything. Like, for an Astarte to be chosen to, stay back on a compliance world, which effectively they're going to live for the rest of their lives and be totally okay, like, it's like the worst thing that could ever happen to them, because they are not dying on the battlefield. It's like, the psychology behind that and, like, the depth, it's like, you have immortal soldiers, but they don't even see their immortality as the thing that's secondary. How I die is more important. It's like, what the? Yeah, that's crazy deep. I don't know. It kept me up at night. I was like, that's crazy. I don't know. And it's just like little bangers like that happen through. Like, it's not always just about like the secularism religion. It's not always about like this deep philosophy of like life and death or chaos and, I guess structure. It's all that thing happening all at once and just bundled so well. So I literally can't, go off in the books. I know I've talked a lot and there's a big tangent there, but it's so good. I don't know. I'm shocked. I'm personally shocked. I thought I was going to read like 3 and kind of be done, but I think I might go full hog, like full bore.
All 54, baby.
Yeah. By the time we keep catching up, it might be like 60 by the time, but I don't know, because they're still coming out with them.
They're still making books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got a couple left. I think they were looking to tie things up.
Oh, good.
I thought they may have released the last one, but I could be mistaken there.
Okay, maybe. Yeah. Well, they just had the whole like they're re-releasing some of their initial ones. Which they just re-released the original ones. Which is the only bad thing about this book series is they're out of print. So they print the first 4, totally fine. But then the rest of them, they do the back 4, I think. So the 50 plus in between, or 40 plus in between is, you gotta read on ebooks or something like that. So
that's why you were looking for the, from our buddy,
Yeah. That's why, yeah. So Mark has a buddy who does a lot of estate sales and everything,
nice.
And I was like, dude,
if you see any of these,
1,000 Suns book, grab it. Burning a Prospero, grab it. Yeah, it's like, I need those bad Johnnies, but yeah, it never came to fruition. And I found one online, and it was like stupid. It was stupid expensive.
Oh,
I was
sure.
like, it's just not even worth it. I'll just read this online.
Because they probably knew it's out of print.
Yeah. And they hope that they bring more in. So, but with all that being said, Mark, do you have any lore questions for us, or are they more hobby questions?
Oh, there's a little both.
Oh, nice. So do you want to do your lore, then we'll go into the hobby and gameplay after that?
Sure. So let's see here. Do you guys have like based on so far that you've read, is there like a favorite legion that you have?
Always. 1,000 Suns.
And
no, technically we haven't read into them yet, but yeah.
Okay.
We've only met the Primarch to where we've read of the 1,000 Suns. His name is Magnus the Red. Dude's a beast. I love him. Live and die by his sword. Aaron, anything like you?
Yeah. Because in the Horus Heresy series, right, we're talking about the original 18 legions of these Space Marines, Astartes, the super soldiers. I think we've encountered 6 so far.
Yeah. We can probably list them right now if you want, but I don't know if that'd be good for audio. It'd be quick.
So the Sons of Horus / Lunar Wolves. They were kind of the first main one. We've encountered the Emperor's Children. We've encountered the Death Guard, the World Eaters. Sanguinius of the Blood Angels has been in.
Yep.
And then Magnus of the 1,000 Suns.
And then Imperial Fist.
Imperial Fist were in there briefly as well.
Yep,
yeah.
Rogaldorn.
Yep.
Are we missing anything else?
They've mentioned most of the others.
Yeah, in passing.
Yeah, but
In full grown. Yeah.
yeah, we've not encountered them.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy to think about. Yeah, we're only at 7.
Yep.
Wild.
And I think only like 4 or 5 of them we've actually really gone in depth.
Yeah, when we say like in depth, like we're actually following a character, right? You know. Yeah. Sons of Horus would make sense why they're the primary of, you know, because we're following Horus, right?
Yeah.
And, well, all he's doing. So, yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, and Horus, I guess just for kind of broader context, is the Primarch of that legion. So that's like, you know, you've got an army of super soldiers, and the Primarchs are like super soldiers, right? They were genetically crafted by the Emperor of Mankind to lead his armies, effectively.
And like, typically it's like a father-son pairing where, you know what I mean? Like, the Emperor is the father of the Primarchs, and the Primarchs are the father of the Astartes, but that also goes into like this gene seed to make them this much powerful. Like, the Primarch has influence on that gene seed sometimes, so you'll see like some of the Astartes come out having like personality traits and stuff like that, and affecting that going through, which we haven't really talked too much, but it has happened. They talked about like Axeman.
Yep,
that's a good example.
Yeah, where he is, you know, visually very similar to the Primarch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess to get back to the original questions, we've gone off on
sorry.
another
Yeah,
tangent.
no, it's good.
But that's a crazy thing. Like,
tangents
it's
are good.
so much
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think your favorite is?
I mean, Luna Wolves to an extent. And I'm going to call them Luna Wolves because, you know,
Yes.
Sons of Horus.
Don't ever say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the characters, you get very attached to them. They're kind of the focus of the first 3 books. I am kind of digging Death Guard, though, with book 4 here. Super cool.
Mortarion. Yeah.
Mortarion is cool. Nathaniel Garrow. What a
he's
man.
A man, dude. He literally wields this power sword. It's called Libertas. Libertas, yeah, dude. It just ekes blue energy, and he just like slays people. Where everyone has like this overpowered, like basically like bolters, where like each like bullet is like a small like,
yeah, it's like a gyrojet propelled round that has a small antimatter warhead, and it's like 0.75 caliber. Like it's crazy, right? You shoot somebody and they just explode.
Yeah, not like the boys where they're like, hey, humans must have just been like, they have like more balloon physics where everything just explodes. Like those guns, like everything explodes. And some people take like more of the melee route, and he has melee route. Yeah. He's really rad. But okay, I have to ask now, who's your favorite character though out of the Luna Wolves?
I mean, it's got to be Loken.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I love Torgannon. Torgannon was so good.
Torgannon is based, dude. He's awesome. But you know, like I understand, and this I think was just based on the perspective of the book, right? But I deeply understand Loken's struggles and tribulations, and because of the depth of that explanation and how long we've been with him, you know, there's just a kind of a kindred spirit.
You have to. No, 1,000%. I think
Torgannon is fantastic. And he's also kind of the comic relief a lot of the time in that book.
That's why I liked him, actually. He was like one of those things where the voice actor of Optimus Prime, Peter, can't remember his last name. Whole point is, he's like, we're thinking about the voice of Optimus, and he's like, I just heard my brother's voice be like, don't be one of those heroes that are screaming in everyone's face, like, be strong enough to be gentle kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things to live by, and I think Torgannon was just like there's all this crazy stuff going on, and, you know, it's just those moments of, like, he's just, like, constantly, like, not like he's joking around effectively, but like he's just always level-headed, and like no matter what's going on, like he's just trying to lift everyone else's spirit. I was like, dude, I just relate to that so hard, and I was like, this guy's a man. And I love Torgannon.
Yeah, and no spoilers, but there are a few points in the book where, like, okay, treachery is becoming very apparent, and he stands his ground. He holds to his guns. He sticks up for his brothers. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I think that's what makes this so hard too. We didn't mention on this. We talked about all these different powers, right? Of secular religion, you know, chaos versus structure, all this other stuff. But the crazy thing is like this brotherhood of, like, no joke, these, because by the way, they live for hundreds of years, presumably thousands if they're
immortal, like you said.
Yeah, and they're constantly in war. They're battling every single day.
Yeah.
And so, like, the brotherhoods, the bonds that get like brought up. That's why, like, this is so horrible. Like, you hear the Horus Heresy, and like it actually invokes something in me when I hear that, because like I just now reading like what they're going through, like there's so many times where they had enough facts to like throw the red flag and like whistle blow a little bit, but like they couldn't even imagine a brother Astarte to do such a thing, let alone a brother Primarch to do such a thing. So, like, it's crazy seeing the psychology of that, and that's what, like, Aaron's bringing up with Horganen and with Loken, where it's like, they, like, stuck to their guns, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, but they're like, sticking to their guns, and they're, like, suffering so much for it, where, like, they could have whistleblown and shared the burden with other people, but they're like, no, I have to be sure. I refuse to, like, do whatever, and it's like,
and they make it very understandable and relatable, right? And I think the guys who founded Games Workshop were, like, history buffs, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sure a lot of things, you mentioned you were into the Civil War earlier, right? A lot of the things that were going on in the antebellum times, there are 100% parallels in the writing of these books, right? The sorts of relationships and the strains that people were going through with, conflicting allegiances. It's very compelling reading.
Yeah, okay.
Because, like, the border states, can you imagine, like, brother v. brother, cousin v. cousin, like, all because of some line that got established? Like,
yeah, it's great. It's
wild.
It's deeply interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
So it sticks with you. So that's why, like, when we were talking about characters, like, that's why I think we could talk about it. Like, this is basically our book club. You know what I mean? We talk about exactly the stuff. It's wild. But I'm glad you said that, because, Death Guard is really working on me.
Yeah.
And the Mortarion model, we'll get to the hobby side, one of the best models. Magnus is the best, but, Mortarion's a close second. Oh, my gosh. Like, if you have to, like, look at this model, it's crazy. And what people paint to it is so good.
Yeah.
But.
Okay. Before we get in the hobby, so can you draw any parallels between the relationship between the Emperor and Horus and God and Lucifer?
That's an interesting one.
Which is funny, because they're always constantly trying to fight. You know what I mean? Like, secular versus religion. But,
right.
Well, I mean, it's very paralleled, right? We can say, so there's some, probably some spoilers here, you know what I mean? Like, we want to be very careful. I also don't know everything, but it's very clearly Horus is in this heresy moment of this whole treason thing. I think that's almost like a direct parallel, because God and Lucifer being one of the angels, you know what I mean, trusted ally, one of the top dogs, for him to then fall and then now be diametrically opposed to the Father, it's literally almost word for word, Yeah,
a lot of similarities, because I think prior to the actual heresy within the Horus Heresy series, like, Horus was like the chosen son of the Emperor. So if we're making the analogy between God and other figures within the Abrahamic religions, right? Horus is almost like Jesus, right? He is the chosen son of the Emperor. If, again, we're making that analogy.
Yeah.
In this case, Horus has a lot of brothers, but Horus was the chosen one to effectively take the place of the Emperor at the helm of the Great Crusade. And with him falling out of favor, there's a lot of parallels with how, Lucifer is now the antithesis of God, right?
Yeah.
Interesting analogy.
Yeah, cool.
That was a good way to put it, because I was like, is this man gonna bring up Ulnar right now? What's going on? This is in our book, but that was one of the breaking points of, like, when the Emperor now bestowed Horus as the War Master. So this kindred spirit of the 18 Primarchs, where it is.
Depending on how you want to count it.
Yeah. So of the Primarchs currently able, you know what I mean? Like, they're in line with each other. So for the fact that now the Emperor came down and said, no, Horus, you are now bumped up, like, that was a really, really, really big deal. It actually can almost split that party a little bit, because there's some people in support of Horus, other people being like, dude, what?
It should have been me.
Yeah, it should have been me. So there's, like, this weird also aspect of that too, where, like, you think that would almost be heretical, but, like, that's kind of okay, then Horus does his thing.
Was there a new chosen one after Horus left?
I don't know. Maybe. Let's just. Next question.
TBD.
Yeah.
TBD.
So,
do you know, actually, Aaron?
The short answer is no, based on how the heresy ends. But some of the characters from the heresy do return in the 41st millennium. And some of them are on the side of what's left of the Imperium of Man.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the direct answer, maybe earmuffs, Toady, if you need, but
I'll just
Rabute Gilliman of the Ultramarines is kind of the new figurehead for the Imperium.
Okay, I could have guessed that. That was like my guess. I was really, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's probably Gilliman.
Yeah.
And none of the other Primarchs left with as far as you guys know, right, at this point in the book series, it's Horus against the 17th. Or no, it's a split. The gray marks are split?
That's why it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, they're actually, like...
And that's some of like the really interesting writing in terms of how Horus is trying to get his peers on his side to overthrow the Emperor. So I think it's not really much of a spoiler, but it basically winds up being an even split between loyal and traitor Primarchs. So half of them are on the side of Horus and Chaos, and the other are still supportive of the Emperor.
Yep. And how they get there is pretty interesting as well. Like the logic that he uses. And each of these books, like you're seeing more people, like the bricks are falling.
And just some of the circumstances that force some of the Primarchs to choose one side versus the other.
I don't think we've hit that yet, but we're getting closer.
We've not, but it's coming, and I
can
know
only
some
feel.
of it.
Okay, I can already feel. Because right now it seems very like the Primarchs that have chosen Horus's side, they're kind of on the same belief as to why Horus left.
Yeah.
And at least it seems like, right? You know what I mean? So it was less of like a twist of the arm on politics, but rather like, no, like what you're saying is true. Like everything you are, like that's also a testament to Horus. It's also a testament to the situation that's happening. So cool.
Yeah, and it's, again, you already know that Magnus chose the side of Chaos, but at the point where we are in the book, that does not appear to be the case at all.
Also, he is like actively not. So that's why like I'm trying to bum rush all these Thousand Sons, because like I need to know, because whenever I hear people talk about it, it's always a joke. They're like, we're Chaos Light. You know what I mean? We're like, yeah, we kind of are Chaos, but like as to why they chose it, it seems like it's not like when they call Fallen Brothers, it doesn't seem like the standard Fallen Brothers, because like this stuff is actively happening, and Magnus is actively trying to stop it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's what made me love. Oh my gosh. I already knew I was going to choose Thousand Sons. Like, that was in the back of my mind. But when I read those pages, I was like, this is the greatest faction of my life. I will never go against this. Orcs is my close second. Just for the fun game side, which we can then talk about. Do you have any questions?
Well, no. The other one I think can only truly be answered if you've read all the books. So
Okay, cool.
So I think I'm ready to talk gameplay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the only one I quick want to say, the only other one gameplay wise that I was just talking about was like orcs. Aaron, you played orcs against me. We played a few games against each other. They sound so much fun. Painting and building them, that sounds rough. But they sound so much fun. And my biggest, not gripe, but the biggest gripe with the tournament is we didn't have more orc players. I just wanted to hear someone say, the Wog, and no one did it. And I was like, dang.
Yeah, they did at previous tournaments.
They did it?
Oh, yeah.
I missed it. Oh, okay. So I kind of bull rushed that just to get that idea out of my head really quick. But we just talked about the lore. Now let's talk about some of the the hobbying side and the gameplay side. So Aaron and I just got done with my first ever tournament, but we called it GT Grand Tournament. There was like
120 people
plus. Yeah, people. Teams of 5. And
all local or kind of all over?
Dude, there's Greyhound buses there driving people in.
Nice. Okay.
Like Kentucky, Michigan,
West Virginia.
Like there's people who traveled for this.
But this one was local for you guys though?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was wild because like I knew this hobby was really popular, but what's even crazier is like our area in which we live in, the world, not America, the world champion lives here.
Oh, wow. All right.
So, like, yeah, and he was there. You know what I mean? And it was funny because it was toward the award ceremony. By the way, Aaron and I took an award home. Hi, Dan. But then they came by. He's like, hey, are you using that chair? I'm like, oh, yeah, no, man, you got it. And he, like, grabbed it. I was like, oh, my God. You know what I mean? I was, like, messing with Ryan. And Ryan's like, what? I'm like, Ryan, you know who that is? You know what I mean? But I was messing with him.
Is he older or is he about our age? Or what?
Oh, dude, he's
probably younger than I am.
He's like, yeah, he's got to be, I don't know, 30, whatever, early 30s.
Okay, yeah.
You really?
Yeah.
You think?
Late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, he doesn't seem,
Okay, yeah.
Big beard.
Intense,
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. I think the second person who won Worlds also lives here, right? Wasn't there the previous
There
one?
is another, top, like, world stage of Warhammer player here, yeah.
Yeah, and you would think, Ohio of all places, like, why are these two people here of the world?
It's because there's nothing better to do.
You got corn and Warhammer, Tony.
Bushlight, Warhammer, yeah. Two things that the Emperor blessed us with. What are you talking about? But yeah, so just going into it, so we had this first tournament, and so you might ask yourself, oh my gosh, like what kind of goes into a tournament? What goes into this hobby? Pull out your credit card, go to your local game store, buy the models.
Get a second mortgage on your house.
Yeah, student loans, they can wait, don't worry about it. But the whole point is that, so it, no joke, starts off with like purchasing a set of models, and typically, if anyone's, this is kind of maybe a suggestion or kind of turning into like an advice section either, as well. Dude, if you're going to go into, like, Warhammer, there's so many ways to attack the age-old question of, like, what legion or what faction do I choose? And I think there's, like, no wrong way of going about it, but there's a lot of different ways. Some people want to do really highly competitive lists, therefore they look at what's currently going on right with the rules, wrong with the rules, and that kind of maybe gleans some information as to what you should choose. Some people just do the real cool. They look at the model, they go, this looks sick, love it, and they want to take it. You also have the rule of lore, basically, where you're like, I just love the lore of this faction. I want to learn more about it and play it on the tabletop. And the very last one is kind of like a blend of all of them. Not really a blend, but meaning like it's rules adjacent, meaning like, well, how do they fight? Or how do they do? Like, this is a very shooty army. That might be something you want to do. This is a very chargy, fighty army with, like, melee weapons. That might be something you want to do. And, like, oh, by the way, this has this special ability that, so it kind of, like, bleeds in. And so you can choose one of those factors. You can choose all those factors all to bleed up into your decision. So there's way better YouTubers that go well into it. And I spent, like a week. It was like a spirit, like a, what do they call that? Like when you go on, like a spirit journey or whatever.
A vision quest.
Vision quest. It was like a vision quest for me. I was like, what do I choose? Because I knew I wanted to go into something. And that's where the orc thing came in. So it's like kind of a funny thing where they have these little things here and there where like when people talk about it, it just makes me smile. Like the community of orcs is very fun. Yes. Like there's a play that they do where it's called like the Wog, and like everyone just like when you hear one person scream it, it's like a big deal kind of deal. And then the other one is like they have little things like where it's like DACA, like we need more DACA, and it's just like, what is DACA? And you're like, dude, okay,
more guns.
Yeah, more guns, because it just sounds like a machine gun. They're like, and that's all it is. But like the way they talk about things is so funny because it's like they will like destroy you, and their whole thing is like it's just bootstrapped crap. That's all like their aesthetic is fun, so. That might be a good aspect of like, oh, their gameplay of what they do, the community around it, the look of the model, like those are all things kind of bleed into it. So it's like a pretty big vision quest. So I only have one army. I have the 1,000 Suns. I kind of briefly mentioned that. I bought my first model December after Aaron told me not to. I did, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then it kind of went from there. And so I, got a couple models, built it up to 2,000 points. Aaron knew I was pretty deep in at that point. I was like, man, I really wanted Forge Fiend. And he was out at a local gaming store. He's like, they got a Forge Fiend on sale. I was like, dude, all right, send it. You know what I mean? And so he was also my dealer for a second. You know what I mean? And that. So
gotta hook a brother up.
Yeah. It was one of those things.
He tried to not get you into it, but after you were in, there was nothing he could do.
First hit's free. You know what I mean? He really wanted to make sure I was in. But the reason why I bring kind of that was kind of like the progression, and it was so much fun putting together models. That's all part of it, but that was kind of my experience. So, Aaron, was yours kind of the same experience of kind of like what kind of led you into your first army choice? Were you going that deep, or were you like, dude, guard sick?
Yeah, so I mean, at the onset, right, because I am that boring human player, right, I'm like, all right, guard. They're regular humans. I am huge into like military history stuff, and they're like a conventional army with sci-fi kind of tech sprinkled here and there.
Mark, very important. When he says conventional humans, he really means they're straight humans, not Astartes.
Normies.
Yeah.
I'm picking up the lingo.
Gosh. Right when Aaron said, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Across this whole span?
But like, you think about it, right? You have all of these like otherworldly horrors. You have aliens that have unfathomably powerful technology. You have these superhuman warriors, and you just got like a regular dude with a rifle, and like, man, the grit that man or woman must have in order to just take their normal human self and try to fight them.
Just the cojones.
It's something. I vibe with that. I'm into it.
I love it.
So, like, specifically when I was getting into the game, I wanted to have, like, elite drop troops jumping out of, like, basically VTOL helicopter type things, right? Have aircraft flying around. So I got a lot of that stuff when I was first getting into the hobby. This was shortly after I had, my first big kid job, right?
Yeah.
Finished up college, grad school, all that. So I had a lot of disposable income and not a lot of things to spend it on. And boy, howdy, did I go deep fast. Retrospectively, I should have slowed way the heck down.
Yeah.
But
and you helped me out, by the way. I lived through your pain because you're like, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
I made
if you listen
so
to
many
anything,
errors starting off.
Like, pace yourself a little bit. And actually, you're a really great resource. Because that's the other thing, too. So maybe this is another advice. Like, Aaron was a really great resource because I came to him and I was like, hey, like, I'm thinking about more of these models. Am I thinking about this right way? And, like, you helped me build a list. And, like, so I'm not just buying models to buy a model. Right? You know what I mean? I actually had, like, a cohesive way to go through it. So,
yeah.
And also, you said flying, which most of those kind of got crap on rules, right?
Yeah, so all of the flyers, aircraft, etc. The rules have been bad for the past, 6 years. So that's been great for my collection of aircraft.
Yeah.
Might make a comeback, Jan.
Probably not,
No,
but
we can dream.
So what errors did you make? Did you buy too many models too quickly, or without a plan, or what was it?
Yeah, so I got a lot of the aircraft stuff, and so they have they being Games Workshop, right? So they have kind of their main mold, plastic injected molds of sprues. That's kind of their main kits that they will sell. There's also these resin kits that are kind of higher quality, but ridiculously priced as well. A lot of the aircraft that I wanted because it looks sick, right? It's the vibes are a lot of it is World War II muscle plane, but in space, and that's awesome.
Heck yeah.
So, I got some of those. The rules were okay when I got them. They have not held up at all. I don't even think that some of them are supported anymore in the current edition, so that's super cool.
Full no support?
Yep, it's super great.
Yeah, because they do, that's one thing about Games Workshop, I'll hand it to them. They very rarely deprecate, right?
Yeah, so they will have rules that, okay, yeah, you have this model, here's a rule, but we're never touching it again.
Yeah.
And most tournaments don't allow models from those rules to be in your army.
Oh, really? Okay, they're restricted. Okay.
Yeah, so kind of a bummer there. It's still cool pieces, still putting them together, painting, etc. Work on more display pieces eventually with them.
Yeah. Well, you got one at your desk and it looks sick. Whenever I pass by, I was like, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, kind of went in a little too hard, too fast without a plan. It's just kind of a buying spree again. I had lots of disposable income, very little responsibility to spend it on.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, kind of got to the point where I figured out the armies that I like to play, the play styles that I like, the models, etc. And with a lot of other hobbies, if you think TCGs, Magic, whatever, right, you can buy, sell, trade pretty easily. So the stuff that I was I'm kind of whatever on, I can offload that relatively easily. Always taking a loss because that's how it works, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Price of poker.
It is.
You learned. Yeah.
Many lessons were learned. But yeah, so kind of getting into it. I knew I wanted to do guard, the elite drop troops. At this point, the collection has almost everything in the guard range.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, by the way, Aaron's got glass cabinets in his basement showing off all this stuff. It's so sick. And once you start doing the hobby and the painting and everything, you look at it and you're like, this is crazy. Like the work, it's awesome. Yeah. It is really Nirvana down there. It's so cool.
Yeah, and so I was talking with one of the other TOs who kind of helped found the community where we are here. He was if you really look at it, the value per dollar for what you're buying, if you enjoy the building, the painting, the game, the list building, all of that, it's not awful. It's still very expensive in just a raw monetary sense, but you figure you've got an hour or two to put a box together. You've got many hours.
Or two. Holy cow, you're high. Yeah, it takes me a long time. But I also do it way up.
As you should.
Yeah.
You've got hours of painting, right? And then you have that model, and presumably you play it, and each game takes several hours most of the time. So as long as you enjoy all of those pieces, right? It's the value per money, or what you get out of it per dollar is not awful.
Well, movies are $20+ for a single ticket nowadays. Yep. So, and that's a 2-hour experience. So, I always like to gauge. Maybe movies are a bad, out of touch thing, but that's what I always kind of gauge. Where my person's you're wasting so much money on video games. I'm I paid $10 on this, and I put 400 hours. my cost per hour is insane. Like,
Yeah.
even if you, like, average out the overhead of, like, the cost of even doing internet monthly or, you know what I mean? Like, doing the actual infrastructure. It's, like, crazy. So I'm the same way. Like, it looks expensive at its pace, but, like...
And it is.
It is. And I can gladly say, though, just for my own, like... So I took 6 weeks off in between switching jobs. And during that 6 weeks, which I talk about on the podcast, but during that 6 weeks, like, I was no joke watching One Piece and doing models. And even that 6 weeks period, I almost didn't complete, like, putting together my 2,000 point army, just for reference. Like, and that was me working on it, like, every day, every other day. You know what I mean? That's like, think about all that time spent. Like, that's a lot of time for the amount of money. You know what I mean? So we do the cost per hour, or cost per dollar that way. Cost per hour, not dollar, but that's, you know, makes up for it pretty quick. I was literally gluing stuff 1 a.m. the night before. Which, is it really a tournament if you don't do something like that?
I have never been more productive with the hobby than right before a tournament.
Oh, yeah. You get in a flow state.
That makes, yeah.
And then the first time, on my very first table I went to, I put my army down. I like, you know, I was doing, like, you know, being very methodical. I had my aspiring sorcerer, put him down, torso broke in half, and I was like, well, good thing I brought glue. You know what I mean? And so while the first couple of things, I was, like, gluing models, and then every single other, like, table, and it wasn't like I was, like, rough with them, but, you know, it's just some of those, like, basically the way it's like a ball and socket joint, and I just need to put super glue in there instead of, like, I was using Tamiya, which is like a flat, like, basically acetone, so it, like, fuses the plastic together. It should be more strong, but when there's only so little contact points, like, you're just not gonna get that good of a one. So what ended up happening was that and then the third table, it just, like, broke off, and I was like, dang, you know. So
can you not use it if it breaks, or is it just like an internal, like, oh, I didn't do this right kind of?
Oh, it wasn't like I didn't. It was just like, oh, bummer. Like, now I got to be really careful because I either need to glue this now or I need to keep the pieces together because.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, you mess up one model, that's presumably in a unit. The unit has multiple models, and you're like, well, now I am crap out of luck. So does that mean I'm now going to buy another box just to now replace this? But then I'm forever down a unit. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't want to get in that. You don't want to get in that position. So, and then people can bash stuff and stuff like that too. So, and then Aaron, so really quick, if you don't want to go through, you know, not like the pile of shame, but like, so what kind of armies you went through? Like, so you went Guard.
Yeah, so Guard, Space Marines, just because they're cool.
I forgot that you went.
Yeah.
Like all Ultramarine, or did you do anything?
So they are painted in Death Watch, which is like the special forces of the superhuman elite guys, right? They are all about hunting down and killing aliens and you know, studying them, etc. Mostly because A, I think that's super rad. Super cool. B, it gives me the excuse to be like, yeah, well, they bring in members from all chapters. And so if I want to play them in this way, I can say, oh, well, they're, you know, leveraging the, you know, this chapter's kind of specialties. And
versatile.
Yeah.
Kind of like Imperial Agents. Does Imperial Agents have the same vibe where you can kind of just
100%.
Whatever? Okay.
Yeah. So I've got those two. Have a Chaos Space Marine faction, the Word Bearers. So the Horus Heresy, they were the original Legion to turn traitor, even before the Lunar Wolves.
We might have missed them on our original list.
We did miss them.
That's 8.
Because
World Bear. Yeah, Word Bearers. There's World Eaters and Word Bearers. Yeah. We did miss them. Wow, they're original heretic. What the heck?
Yeah, I forgot all about them.
My bad,
yeah.
Erebus, you know what I mean?
Yep. That guy.
Yeah,
anyway.
Something.
I have Orcs just because they're fun.
Oh, they're so much fun.
And then Imperial Knights are the other one. So those are... They're regular humans, but they're in, like, giant multi-story mech suits with guns and, like, claws and all of that sort of fun stuff.
Scary, and more scary. Because, by the way, like, just for Cypher's reference, like, what are we talking? Like, Space Marines, like, 2 inches, 3 inches, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and then this is, like, legit, like...
a foot tall.
Yeah. So, it's a lot. It's needless to say. Yeah, it was awesome. So, I played against your Orcs... and Knights.
Yep.
I think that's it. Oh, then I did, so that was the other thing too. So then you can start playing games, right? So you do this hobby, right? You build all the things and you go forward. Aaron was so gracious to lend me some proxies because I needed some, 1 proxy and then 2 rhinos. So thank you. I appreciate it for the tournament. But then we had to, like, get reps in, right? Because it's not just, like, putting together models. Like, I actually had to play it. Just for reference, each game during the tournament is 2,000 points, and it was like 3 hours long. And that's like quick for our game, like really quick. Like you kind of have to be on it. And I played 3 games before that, and it was just super fun, and like it's so great. But I think I'm more of a basement player than a tournament player. It was a lot of fun playing with you guys. It was a much more chill atmosphere.
Yeah.
Whereas that tournament was like super cutthroat. So earlier I said we won hardware, and you're going, geez, you guys are beasts, right? The world champions in your area, and was at the tournament, so surely you should be good. No, we got last place. And they give you a trophy. Yeah, so you're the, what is it? The best, worst?
The True Champions is what they called it, which is the award given to the team that, the lowest scoring team that stuck around for the whole tournament.
There you go.
And didn't go home early.
Yeah, you got rocket. Yeah, I mean, so
our team is 2-time champions now for the team's event.
Yeah. So that's why I'm trying to get them. So next year, I want us to get a picture of us holding it on a jersey. So then every single year, we just keep incepting it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like jersey. And I'm like, we can't stop. You know what I mean? Like, I'll start throwing games. Even if I get good, I'm going to start throwing games.
Right.
Like, we're getting this, all the way through. But the reason why I bring that up is because, once again, this is a different side of the hobby where it's less of like, have a beer, chill, and do what you need to do. This is way more like, people are going like wild. Like, the rules, the list, like, they are no joke, like, not like that's fun for them, but for me, I was like, it's not really. It was still very fun, the tournament, and I played with really great people who are like explaining, really helping things out, but it's not my scene. But Aaron, you first off, you won 2 games, right?
I did, 2 out of 5.
Yeah. 0 out of 5, if you were curious.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Dusted.
Actually, no, I got dusted. At first, I actually had the most points for round 1 because I lost least amount, you know what I mean, like the point, whatever. But then the rest of them, I got totally swacked. Like, I think I actually had one of the lowest scores. Like, you get points between like the differentials, like what you score in the games, and you can get like anywhere from 20 to 0. And I was first one I got like, you know what I mean.
Yeah, you got like 6.
Yeah, I got like 6. I was like, oh, this is crazy. This is awesome. And then I think I ended with a total of like 8 points total, maybe 10.
Yeah. It happens.
But I did beat Ryan. Sorry, Ryan. Yeah. Which doesn't make any sense. Like, whatever. There's a whole ranking system. And I've never it was just always a big joke because we were like going at lunch and Ryan's like, I'm still last. How is this possible? Yeah. It's funny. But yeah, Aaron rocked it with 2.
Yeah, I mean, I love me some sweaty, competitive strategy type games, right? So I do the Warhammer stuff. I've got like a computer game I play a whole heck of a lot that's also sweaty and competitive.
Which I think you're top 100 in the world plus. Are you top 50?
Yeah, so I'm like I lost a bunch of elo over the past couple weeks, but like I usually top 100-ish.
Yeah, because you were up there a couple, like it was like a month ago, right? You were like 16, I thought.
I think that the highest I've gotten was like 29.
Was it 29? Okay. I thought you broke the 50 barrier, and I didn't know if you broke the 20 barrier. But yeah.
And then I immediately match into players who are better than me and got, smacked down to where I deserve to be.
Yeah, but it's so crazy good. Like, Aaron's brain when it comes to this stuff is so wild. So, like, when I saw that only he won 2 games, I'm like, okay, this, you know what I mean? Like, first off, we're dragging him down, but also it was crazy.
I mean, Brian got a win, too.
I know. It was awesome. He's playing Eldar. He was the 3rd game I played. Yeah, 3rd game. Played against Eldar. Yeah. Xenos faction, We want to
Space Elves.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Space Elves, who he has magic, and then I had magic, and so we kept joking around. We're like, dude, Battle of the Wizards kind of deal. And it was just so funny because I was going through, I was like, oh, I can do this and this. He's like, you can do that? He's like, you got a whole list of magic. I have this. So it was just a really funny, like, back and forth.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was good. But, overall, I don't know if is there anything else you kind of want to touch on the tournament? It was really just kind of going about and saying, like, hey, if you're kind of interested, this is kind of some of the avenues you can take. There's some other big ones, too, where you don't have to do, like, 1,000 or 2,000 points. There's 1,000-point games. There's combat patrols, which are typically 500-ish points. They have different scaling on the rules just to make sure everyone's, like, in round of, 500 points and what they can do in their abilities. But additionally to that, there's like other game series. Like one game I really want to try out, I've seen YouTubers do this in the past, where they do teams. Where not like teams what we did, where when we say we're a 5 team, we're not on one table. We are all on our own individual tables facing against another team of 5, and like we rack and stack points there. But there's a actual play set where like you have 2v2 on one table. and rocks and rolls, and I was like, that would be pretty sick.
Yeah, John and I did one of those. It was a day event a while back. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Magic calls it two-headed dragon, but I don't know what it is for a Warhammer equivalent.
I think it's like just 2v2s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because team events, like you described, is you have a team of players who go and play different 1v1 games, and then you kind of... there's like a mini game where you match your players into the opposing players.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how you can kind of help game more advantageous matchups for your players to get better score in the end.
Yep.
But you can also do like a 2v2 where like you have two players, they build their own armies, but then you're working together with them and you kind of play a normal game just with two people.
Yeah, and then there's a couple other ones, like some of the more popular ones, like Play On, they're a pretty big YouTube channel. They do King of the Colosseum. That's like a 500-point game, but that's like special rules, special game set, and what they do is like you have your own mini tournament. So like you bring a group of guys in, and they get their own list, and you basically just like do this mini tournament. So the games are a lot quicker, but you know you can kind of see what everyone's list is doing. So I definitely want to try that out at some point.
Yeah, there's also been boarding action, I think, has been kind of a mini.
Okay.
So it uses a lot of the same base rules as regular 40K, but it restricts the units you can bring because the idea is like you are assaulting somebody else's spaceship. And so it's like all really close quarters infantry fighting, which is pretty sick.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So,
they have like Kill Team is kind of same, but it's not. That's outside of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, different
Warhammer.
Different rule set. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, why don't you think Warhammer? What we just covered is, oh my gosh, you think you got the idea? There's even more.
Yeah.
So there's not only video games that now are associated with it. So we talk about books and the war game, but now we have video games, and then we talk about tabletop games. There's a whole brand new set of tabletop games, which is like Kill Teams and Underworlds, which is like a Underworlds. It's the board game version of that. I can't remember. And not only do we say all that, this is the sci-fi version of Warhammer Warhammer, which is 40,000. But they have a fantasy version called Age of Sigmar, and then they have Old World. So it's just like it's crazy how much War Games Workshop does. It's honestly crazy. So there's a lot going on here. So, but the reason why I kind of bring up those things where if you yourself are talking about like, please in the comments or anything like that, like maybe potentially a faction that you guys want to play, or you know things that you're looking into, or even asking us like, hey, how would you build a list? Like, dude, Aaron's the man for that. So that was like always such a fun thing, and having someone to kind of relay ideas and thought processes when you're trying to buy and purchase and consume this crazy big world. It was really nice to have like a shaman and a guardian kind of help you through it and be like, Aaron, am I going crazy here? So.
Yeah, and the list building, that's something that just makes my brain really happy. Doing like the little optimizations, like, well, these units kind of do the same thing, which is better. Yeah. Right, trying to figure out exactly what's the optimal pick for this situation, what tools can I bring in my units, what does my army have access to. That just makes my brain really happy for some reason.
Yeah. Aaron's got a full, no joke, like Excel sheet of like the probabilities of like, well, if I have this weapon that has this characteristic against that unit which has these health and strength characteristics, like what's a more advantageous roll? And it's like,
yeah, let's normalize it to 1 point and see who's more efficient, right?
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's a lot going on there. So, but yeah, that's really the hobby and game side. I don't think I really hit anything. Like, of course, we can go more into the hobby or the game side, but there's so many other YouTube videos and it's done by great creators, and it's hard to do on an audio podcast to describe some of this stuff. So I think we should just, cut our losses and say, hey, look at other people. There's great people in the community.
Yeah,
so.
they can't even see our interpretive dance that we're performing right now.
Exactly. There's one point where I was doing the model and I did it internally where I showed the scraping of the mold lines and I was like, what am I doing? No one can see this. So
we can see it, Tony.
That's right. Yeah, I'm not crazy, I promise. My mom had me tested, but
that's right.
It's good this is a podcast. I've always been told I have a face for radio, so I think this is perfect, right?
No, Aaron, come on, man. But it's crazy, but it's so funny to see, like, just the little things you do as you kind of think through it, and it's a lot of fun. But, Mark, do you have any questions on the hobby side, actually, or do we kind of get them all through?
So, if I understand correctly, I think, Aaron, you said you started with the game before the books?
Yes.
And Tony, are you the same boat, or did you?
No,
you read before you got models?
Aaron, you were there real time. I'm pretty sure.
I think that we started the books right before you got your first kits.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, because...
But I could be misremembering.
No, I think you're dead on the money, because I remember buying Horus Rising, which is the first book, and I remember reading like 3 chapters into that, and I remember going, yeah, this is going to change my life in a irreparable way. And I was like, well, frick it. You know what I mean? I'm going full hog. And I legit bought, I think it was, December. I even told Jen, I was like, no, I'm going to wait till I finish the book, or I'm going to wait and whatever. And I think I got to a point, and we were driving up for whatever. I think it was actually Christmas. Whatever. Either way, we were driving up, and I was talking to her. I was like, I got to tell you, this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is changing me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think I started with the books first. And actually, really, the first foray into all this stuff was I was an avid podcast listener of Warhammer podcasts. So a lot of this is so funny. Like, I heard a lot of what was going on, but I never had the context. Mm-hmm. So, like, I think I do have some spoilers here and there, but in the grand scheme of things, like, I actually did a really good job of, like, getting exposed to it, but not truly spoiled, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, it was podcasts, books, and then Army.
Okay. So this might be more of a question for you then, Aaron. After reading some of the books, what does it change your priority of legions that you want, or would you have painted or modeled differently now that you've read some books?
That's a good question.
Or video games, I guess, too.
Yeah, I mean, probably. So when I first started collecting Space Marines, I was very much focused on the game. I was basically getting Space Marines with the intent of running them as Blood Angels. Over time, just kind of, as the rules changed, as I kind of got more into the lore, I decided I wanted to have, okay, if I'm going to have one Marine faction, I want it to be, kind of all of them, technically, which is why I went with Death Watch. That probably would have changed some of my purchasing decisions early. So, Tony talked about the different ways you can kind of start getting into the hobby. Strong recommend, try and get an idea of what you like and are going to be cool with. Because, we talked about this being a pretty large monetary and time sink. It's big in both.
Oh, yeah.
You obviously want to try to make sure that you are getting the most out of your limited amount of time and finance. So there's a lot of free stuff that you can do. Like, it's pretty easy to access a lot of the, at least general lore, and the books are not that expensive, broadly speaking, except for the out-of-print ones.
Yeah, but even then you get an ebook and you're $10.
And like, you can start playing the game on a tabletop simulator. You can get that on Steam. There's a whole bunch of like workshop content that you can play the game pretty easily. Get a sense for how the game plays for the army that you're considering. That's all free. So strong recommend on starting there, unless you're like, all right, I'm a normie human enjoyer. I know I'm going to be doing the Imperial Guard. Or like, Egyptian Space Wizards, that is 100% my jam.
Yeah, well, that's what got me, and that's honestly, if I had to redo anything, same logic was, I wish I would have played some TTS, and that would have helped me, like, really solidify my choice. I still love the Thousand Suns, but they do have a really high learning curve. There's so much going on. There's a lot of rules, and so it's like, are they the easiest faction to play? No, but I don't think that would have shied me away. I think that would have also solidified me in. But there was a level of, like, as I was buying models, I'm like, I've never even played a freaking game. And I've sunk this much time and money into this. Like, So that's why when Aaron and I played the first game, I'm not going to lie, I was, like, the drive over, I was sweating. Not the fact of, like, I wouldn't know a rule and, like, learning the rules, that's a whole other, hobby in and of itself. But the fact that I was so nervous that I was going to end that game, go home and be like, I did not have any fun whatsoever. So the fact that it was so much fun, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go full hog. So it was good.
Yeah,
overarching. Yeah,
cool.
Sorry. So Aaron, actually, as we read through Horus Heresy, though, has that affected you in any? Is there a sick part of your brain that you're like, dude, I should go Death Guard? You know what I mean?
Death Guard is pretty sick. I am trying to not buy more armies because I have the 5 that I mentioned, and I think some Necrons that I haven't put together. I haven't made a decision on that yet.
I didn't know you had Necrons. Okay.
Yeah, they're hiding in my pile of shame. We don't talk about them. Anyway.
Actually, Aaron, when he said, "Don't go in the closet. Yeah, don't even look. Don't worry. Don't concern yourself. These are things you shouldn't.
Yeah, the only thing you'll find in there is pain.
yeah. But honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I said orcs. I think they sound fun. Oh, by the way, I also promised Jenna, which, promise can be broken. But no, I'm joking. That I was only going to do my one army. And then if really push comes to shove, really get into the hobby, maybe another at most. You know what I mean? Like, just, being conscientious, right? Because I can only imagine, especially with more kids, like, my free time is going to exponentially decrease. So I'm like, I think one's going to be good. But, orcs, they sound really fun. But I'm like, the problem is, like, there's so many models, and there's a lot more paint. They're easier to paint, stuff like that, whatever. But, Mark, you asked, like, hey, after reading and everything, do Death Guard. Not even going to lie. After reading this 4th book, unbelievable. They've totally inspired me. Like, so sick. I love them to death. Mortarion, hearing them, seeing them, reading them, and then seeing them on the tabletop, crazy. And then going into the tournament, seeing Mortarion in real life, but also seeing the Great Unclean Ones.
Yeah.
The big green, spongy guys.
Nasty, unclean demons.
Mm-hmm. Dude, they are so sick. And I saw, like, someone's running, like, a demon. Yeah, literally, yeah. I saw a demonless, if you're going to Google that, take a little peeksy doodle. It's pretty sick. But then there's some people, like, doing, like, demons and all that fun stuff. So I actually lucked out. That was the other reason why I chose 1,000 Suns, where that faction allows you to have demons as well. So, I can have my Space Marines, I can have demons, I can do all the chaos things. So that's another reason why I kind of wanted to... I was hedging my bets just like Aaron with Death Watch, which was... I kind of have an avenue to play more than just this, like, my aperture's wider, if that makes sense. So, sorry. I know that question's more toward Aaron, but I was like,
no, that's good.
Yeah. It also bled into, because, God, Death Guard's so sick.
Yeah. Okay, so I got one more question, just end on a little fun note, okay? Mm-hmm. I just came up with this question. No abominable intelligence help on this one, all right?
Oh, okay, good.
I know there's been movies for other tabletop games such as Dungeons and Dragons. Do you think a Warhammer movie would work? Would it be good? And if you guys are the directors, who would you cast as the Emperor and who would you cast as Horus?
So I'll address kind of the first part first. Yes, I'm sure a movie would work. There's plenty of source material. Warhammer has basically their own app streaming service thing. They have some kind of short stories, but I know that Henry Cavill is allegedly trying to, like, help produce a Warhammer show via Amazon. There's been very little actually come out about that. I have some guesses.
It's just recently he's like more Titus.
Okay.
It's Titus work. Yeah.
Okay.
So less on the... Yeah, so...
I was hoping it was Eisenhorn, which is another book series, which is fantastic. Strong recommend.
Yeah, which I want to read into, because that'll come into it.
Yeah. But
that's the Inquisition, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that all still during the 30K time? Or
that's in the 41st millennium.
41st, okay.
Yeah. I was about to say
40K.
I think 40K in that one. So it's also really important, too, because there's games associated with it. So Space Marine 1, Space Marine 2 follows Titus, which that's why when they said, I don't know if this was true or not, but I did see the fact that he was like, oh, he's now going to play Titus. I was kind of like, oh, man, you know what I mean? Like, we kind of already have some of this stuff. They're hedging their bets a little bit, because they're hoping that all the people who are in Space Marine 1, Space Marine 2, who maybe not full hog on the Warhammer universe, they can still keep up with everything going on. It's a little bit easier of a jump to get into.
Yeah. But I will search for more money.
Yeah. That's the only problem now with, like, all these huge things. Like, you have to be so, like, the cost is so wild that, like, you got to be, you got to kind of go to a common denominator, and sometimes that can be a little rough. But what I also will say is, like, historically, Games Workshop has been very lock and key as to what they produce. And I think that has caused why we haven't seen so much, which might be a good thing or a bad thing. Like, the fact that they are so lock and key of, like, who handles and uses the IP has probably been why everything's been so cohesive, why this work has been pretty good. Yeah. There's also levels of, like, it kind of, like...
It's definitely stymied independent content creators. There's been a few instances where they've kind of gone down and shut people down.
Oh, like
for
YouTube.
Using the IP.
Yeah, YouTube is like, people have gone in like, oh, this is like a fan service, whatever, and like they'll immediately like demonetize it because like, you're using your IP. So a lot of people, sometimes you get YouTubers who are very much against Games Workshop. Makes sense, right? You know what I mean? They're stopping their, payday, so it totally makes sense. But I will say, like, Games Workshop has kind of stymied a lot of those things because they are so protective. But I will say this with full confidence. If they portrayed what the Horus Heresy is, even in these 4 books, in a movie or like a TV series, crazy. I don't know. It would be so good. And of course, like, you always want to say like Henry Cavill for like the Emperor. It seems like such a natural, you know what I mean? Like, he's into it. he's also going to protect everything. The Emperor protects. Henry Cavill will protect. You know what I mean? It just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And I would actually venture. So the guy who plays Geralt, this is Henry Cavill.
In The Witcher.
Yeah. It's not Jafar. That's from Aladdin. Who's the bard? Jay. Oh my gosh, it's in the Witcher series. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Dandelion.
Yeah, Jay.
Yesker.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Jaskier.
Yeah,
Jaskier?
he's right. Yeah.
So they were on an interview. This is what kind of popped off because he's like, "Oh, like I'm a Necron player. Like, hey, we should meet." But in that interview, he has like long hair, kind of Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 3-esque vibe. He would be a great Horus. I would do those two as my, you know what I mean? Like, I think they have really great chemistry in The Witcher. I thought they were like two of the best characters in The Witcher. But I hate to like, take two actors. That feels like a cheap move. But like, Henry Cavill's the Emperor makes total sense. But like, as his counterpart, someone who's already been war prone, like, war proven, I guess, in a sense of like, they've already worked together. They clearly care about the IP. I feel like he'd be good. Horus.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't even know what the actor's name is. Do you know what the actor's name is?
Joey Beatty.
Joey Beatty, I just got you a couple mil role, so.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd love to work with Henry Cavill again.
Oh, for sure. I mean, any actor worth their salt who really cares about source material should either strive to be or work with Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Like, no, I mean, maybe I don't know behind closed doors. No one knows anybody behind closed doors these days. But point is like the fact that he's been so true to all this stuff. Like, he's going to be down on the money. Aaron, do you think you'd know who's your Emperor? And well, you said it's going to work, right? That's you're confident about that.
So I've got like some meme picks, right?
I gotta hear him.
Well, so just because I think it's very funny to me, like Steve Buscemi as the Emperor would be just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't think if you're trying to be, actually, he'd probably do okay. He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
Phenomenal in Death of Stalin.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that movie, by the way, give it a watch.
Oh, I thought you were talking about with Spy Kids too, because you remember he hits him with like, "Do you think God stays in heaven because he fears what he created?" It's like, this is a kids movie, man.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
But he delivered that line one heck of a way.
Yeah. No, he'd actually probably be pretty good.
Good in Sopranos too.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think Henry Cavill makes a lot of sense for the Emperor. I actually think he might be a good Horus.
Oh, 1,000%.
Honest.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah. I got to give it to him there.
Yeah.
Well, that just speaks volumes about Henry Cavill's acting. He can pretty much do any character,
Well, yeah, I mean, look at him as, Geralt is like a perfect, like, anti-hero. You know what I mean? Like, not saying that Horus is he is a hero at some points, but now less so at other points.
He's been the hero. He's been Superman.
Yep.
He's been the bad guy in Mission Impossible movies.
Impossible, yeah.
And then he's been the morally great character, which is The Witcher, right? So he's done it all. I mean,
now let's do one that goes run the gambit.
Yeah, I think he'd be a very good Horus just because he has the same sort of like charisma that Horus is supposed to have had during the Heresy. And then you kind of see that fall. I think that'd be an interesting cast.
Oh, man. Talk about another trope that is so good in the books. Like, this perfect, Primarch who has never failed in all these years and, like, makes one mistake and, like, rattles him. He makes another mistake and rattles him, and seeing him fall, like, and drift is crazy. Like, real time. It'd be... I think Henry Cavill would do a really good job.
I think
but
so.
But no, like, like in Dune, like Christopher Walken being the Emperor, you know what I mean?
Christopher Walken would be a good one. I'm trying to think who might... Adam Driver.
Dude, yes.
I think he'd be a great Emperor.
Oh, Emperor. Oh, I was going to say Horus. Dude, he did so good as a morally complex... The only shining thing of sequels is Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
I think he did a good job. I think he did good Horus.
I think Daisy Ridley did well, too. That's Aaron's opinion.
Oh,
but
no.
Like,
sorry. Yeah, if we're talking about actors. But well, Daisy Ridley, you know what I mean? Sorry, we're doing... But,
yeah. But, I think Adam Driver would be an interesting Emperor. Because he's also kind of like... he can play the bad guy, not just Kylo Ren. He's been Marriage Story, phenomenal if you're in a drama.
Yeah, he's also in that Saint movie, the Japanese.
I'm
can't remember what it's
blanking on
called.
it.
Yeah. That was that was a good drama for him too.
Yeah, playing a really bad guy in what was The Last Joust or the Last Duel.
Yes, that's with Matt Damon.
Yes.
Yeah,
in
that's
that
good.
was
That's
a
a good
really good one.
Yeah, so I think he'd be a really interesting pick for the Emperor because I think he's kind of he can pull off brooding and kind of mysterious well, I think. Whereas like Henry Cavill, I think is more of the just kind of charismatic hero, and then you kind of see that fall. I think those would be my two picks.
Dude, top two.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill being Horus, and then
Adam
Driver
Driver.
is. By the way, I do want to clarify. Every single time I've ever dogged on the sequels, it's never the actors. Like they do
they're
a good
all
job.
fantastic.
It
It's just the
is.
plot.
It
It's
is
just
just
the
the
content.
plot.
Yeah.
It's crazy to
Plot's
me.
so bad.
But yeah, okay, we don't have to go. But you're right.
That's
right.
a whole other episode.
So what I'm hearing is you guys are not casting Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor in Warhammer.
No, but that would be another phenomenal meme pick.
Oh, that would be.
Yeah, that would
Well,
be
you got to
good.
think of age at some point. You know,
Oh, yeah,
this
right.
this has got to go the distance a little bit.
Fair
You know
enough.
what
Yeah.
I mean? There's 54 books, or 50 whatever bucks. Yeah, you kind of have to. But no, that'd be good. Then it just makes me like, man, Patrick Stewart in his prime of like Next Generation. I don't know,
Yeah.
him being somebody. I don't know.
He'd be a good Horus, actually.
Yeah, I thought he'd be a really good Horus.
And it's not just because he's bald.
Yeah, no. Horus canonically. Yeah, he's canonically bald, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
That's
I never
kind
talked
of
about
a
his hair. Yeah.
No, but it's kind of a meme in the community. It's like all the traders are bald.
Oh, really?
So
I guess
No,
I've never seen a lot of the pictures.
it's hyperbole. It's obviously not
Portray
true.
your Emperor, lose your hair. All right.
Yeah,
That's, propaganda,
Hairline
right?
goes, your loyalty goes. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. So, Mark, not knowing anything, what do you think you would do as your Emperor Horus combo?
Well,
After hearing this conversation, now you're an you've now been christened in, right? You're converted,
well, that's interesting.
And we got another
'cause
spot in our book club. You just have to catch up.
I
That's the
know.
only
I
problem.
gotta get. Yeah.
It's a casual 3.5 books. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About to be 4, actually, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's really hard to say without knowing the details of it, right? But I guess similar type characters to who you guys were talking about, but it sounds like maybe a young Alan Rickman would fit.
Oh, I mean,
But
yeah, broody.
As who?
As the Emperor, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you said the Emperor was more broody, right? So,
Yeah.
and then-
Stoic, broody. Yeah. Reserved.
And then if you're thinking bald, then you got to do like this is. I don't think it's a good fit, but bald because it's Vin Diesel for Horus.
Dude.
That would be pretty all right, honestly.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Dude, honestly,
Well,
that'd be
they're
really
super
funny.
soldiers, right? So
Yeah.
they got to be
Yeah.
big. So
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, it'd be funny because he's just like, hey, you should join with me against the Emperor because
We're
we're
family.
family.
Nothing's more important than
Dang,
family.
you know what I mean? And then as he's going into the vengeful spirit, he just puts the nos in, and that's how they go into the immaterium. It's perfect, But yeah,
And he was
that'd be
good in the
really
Chronicles
funny.
of Riddick. That series.
I don't know if I've ever seen
Pitch
that
Black.
one. Dude, the Pacifier, classic movie.
heck yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's only that's like my biggest Vin Diesel when I
Okay.
think about him. But that was like a Disney Channel movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, no, there's just so much I think in the lines of like characters I think would be really good fit, and it's one of those things where like it makes me scratch my head as I read these books because I'm like, why is this not getting adapted? You know what I mean? Like when I was reading Red Rise, I'm like, dude, this got enough popularity. This is that good of. Have you ever
It's
read
on my
Red
list.
Rising? Oh, so good. But like, it's got the popularity, like the quality of the book. I mean, honestly, that's what got me into Warhammer and all this other stuff. Was like I first started off with Red Rising. It was good, like get used to reading kind of deal, and then attacking this. But that's like kind of getting adaptations to it. So I'm like, man, how did that get it? But we're redoing Harry Potter. What the heck? Why are we not spending cycles on something like this? But I just assumed it was Game Workshop nonsense versus a actual possibility.
Yeah, because I think there was a time in Games Workshop history where they just, were kind of towing the line. They were happy with what they were doing. They didn't update the rules all that often. So, like...
Oh, by the way, we're on the 11th, or we're soon to be on the 11th edition of the game, just for perspective.
Yeah.
So starting out in 80 whatever
Yeah,
to
late 80s.
11th edition now. There's only been 11 editions total.
Did D&D start about the same time?
Yep.
Late 80s? Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say Gary Gygax was like banging around then.
Yeah, same time period.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Magic started not that was like early 90s, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
All the
also
same- yeah.
right around then.
That was the
crazy.
golden
What the
age of that
heck?
type of game. Yeah.
Yeah, we landed man on the moon on late 60s, 70s, and then just what do we do next? You know what?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, trading card games, miniatures. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny enough too, because that time period was also like the golden age of real-time strategy games. You had like the original Command and Conquer, Red Alert, Red Alert 2, Age of
okay.
Empires was kind of later on, but
Was it really?
yeah,
I
so
love
like
that
the
game. Age of Empires was.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
that was Mark's bread and butter. I
Oh,
only
yeah.
played Age of Empires, whereas the Greek one.
Age of Mythology.
Age of Mythology, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's going to bother me.
Yeah, Warcraft 2, my very first computer game ever. Right?
Yeah.
I got very sad when the disc got lost, fell underneath the mat on which the computer chair sat, and got horribly scratched to the point where it was unreadable. But yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. Just that time period is like real big on kind of the dystopian kind of universes. All of these games coming out, fantasy.
Yeah,
really
just escape
solidifying.
reality kind
Yeah.
of deal. Wow. Never thought about that.
Yeah, there's probably some really interesting like socio-political, psychological stuff going on during that time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's wild to think. It's wild to think back at that, and it's also crazy too because right now, if you had an emulator or the actual Warcraft 2, would you just slip right into it, be like riding a bike?
So this is a while ago. I picked it back up through totally legal means. Didn't torrent it at all.
Yeah.
That never happened.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Anyway, I was playing it. I'm like, there's some nostalgia here, but I'm trash at this. I don't know how I played it when I was a
Really?
kid.
Yeah.
You didn't boost the trap? I bet you get Mark in StarCraft too. He'd be a beast.
Yeah, I think so. But it's also entirely possible that I would play the game and then I would lose horribly and get sad, and then my dad would come in and beat the level for me. But then I would just remember I beat the game.
Yeah,
that was all me.
Yeah.
And come back as
and
come back as a dog. I'm like, God, this is hard.
yeah. Oh, well, you're just playing against environment. You're not playing against people.
Yeah, because there's the campaigns and everything.
First off,
right?
thinking of time, you had to dial up at that
Also,
point.
yeah. I remember it was a big deal with my dad. He went over to one of his friend's house, and they got a LAN thing going and played Tiberian Sun multiplayer.
that's
Right?
sick. Big
yeah.
deal.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say because we're bringing up the nostalgia there because also Mark over here they're redoing Fable.
Ooh,
So they're
yeah.
remastering it.
Very
That's Mark's, white whale, so to
Yes.
speak. So
They're
good one.
allegedly also making a open world Lord of the Rings game like Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm going to be all over that.
yeah,
So,
it's in the works,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh gosh, please be good,
Yeah.
please. They actually did a really good job with Hogwarts Legacy. I
know.
really enjoyed that
They're
game.
making a second one.
I know, yeah, they DLC'd it too. So it's even though the Simmy's adaptations are kind of being bad, at least the games are really doing good.
Yeah.
Rings of Power just fell flat. But besides the point, we can also go on that information for so long. But no, Aaron, we totally appreciate you here,
thanks for
man.
coming.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was happy to be here.
Fountain knowledge. And dude, as much as we talk about this, we go even more in the depths. It's Aaron is the repository. I was like, dude, what's a Geller field? He's like, you know what I mean? So it's it's so good, and I'm so appreciative of that. Not only can I just go 3 desks over and be like, Aaron, I know I should be working right now, but more importantly, I just thought about this.
The other stuff can wait.
Yeah. Whatever you're doing, not important. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We gotta go on this. But
Yeah, useful things to society living in my head? Nah.
no,
We ain't got room for that here.
No.
Flush it. Yeah, you know what I mean? That really important meeting we just had? Flush all that stuff. So Loken, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, what was your name again, Billy? What?
yeah. Flash everything, just flash memory. But no, it's so awesome to have that as a resource, and also going in and find yourself an Aaron. That's what I'm trying to say. Find yourself an Aaron when you're trying to get into this hobby, whether it's books, video games, all this other stuff. I mean, also don't be afraid to look up on Reddit or anything like that. There's a lot of great avenues going through, even using what was that called? The
Abominable Intelligence.
Abominable Intelligence. You can use an Abominable Intelligence to kind of help guide you a little bit. We're probably going to aggregate a lot of these sources that we're already probably mentioning as well. So
Yeah, and there are a lot of... So Reddit is a good spot to kind of get started if you're trying to look for communities. I think that's kind of the best way to get into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of... So there are purely online Warhammer communities that you can go and join, play, tabletop simulator for free, so you're not sinking lots of money into it before you actually find out if you like it or not. And then a lot of spots, especially here in the U.S. There are pretty large Warhammer communities all throughout. I'm sure it's the same in most of Europe.
Yep. Yeah, go to your local game store. I promise you, you're either going to either meet someone who's injected already in that community, or you can talk to a local owner. They're going to help you out as well. If you're fortunate enough, you have a Games Workshop actually here. We do in our area. They have a lot of cool stuff. I don't want to be a shill for Games Workshop, but at the same time too, hey, I give them credits due. You can go in every single month. They have a mini of the month. So it's like, I don't know if I'm going to sink all this money. Do you think I'm going to enjoy putting together a mini? It's like, you just literally have to buy an X-Acto knife, clippers, and glue. Get a mini of the month for free. That's all less than like $5. You can probably get all that stuff. Super cheap. But get the mini of the month, put it together for the first time, and like see if you enjoy that process. Then you're going to have to do that maybe 20 to 500 more times. You know what I mean? Put together that thing. So then it's going to at least give you an idea if you're going to enjoy the hobby aspect of it. And so like that's a good way of going into sometimes, or not sometimes, they will in these Games Workshop stores. I don't know if local game stores do this as much, but you can go in and be like, hey, I never played Warhammer. What does that look like? And then they'll give you a whole spiel, but then they'll also be like, hey, do you want to try to paint today? And they'll, no joke, give you a Space Marine model or an Age of Sigmar model, Stormcast, whatever, Eternal, whatever those guys are called. And they'll prime it and everything, give it to you, and you can, no joke, learn how to paint like that day in the store. So it's like super accessible, and we talked about it earlier, joking around, where the first hit is truly free. You know what I mean? They really want to get you in and sink you in. So in a very positive way, but also be mindful of time, finances, all the other fun stuff. So a lot of resources. I'm trying to say.
And like your local game stores too, the independent ones, they're also a really good resource. I know for our community, we've got a couple of Warhammer groups in this area, and they've got flyers for their Discord and all that. Which is where a lot of the communities wind up meeting these days. Facebook has kind of fallen out of favor. Fair enough.
But hopefully, all the Discord stuff gets resolved too, because I think that was also questionable. But it's like almost like School of Rock though. You like walk in, there's like no joke flyers where you can like peel off and go, okay, I've got the QR code to join the Discord. And so I've done that with Star Wars Legion at one. I didn't know if there was a local community, went into a local game store, joined the Discord, and immediately I was like talking with like 8 people. So it's a really great opportunity. And that's for all the war games. So, not just Warhammer.
And that's probably the most important thing, right? You can do the painting and the hobby stuff, but if you're actually going to go out and play, you have to have a good community, because if you're just playing with a bunch of maybe not so great people, that kind of kills everything.
Yeah. I will say that tournament kind of exposed a little bit of that. I genuinely had some good people, but I also had some weird ones. I'll tell you offline, Mark. There was a really weird guy, but I'll tell you offline.
Okay.
But the point is the fact of like,
weird people in my tabletop war game sci-fi universe hobby. Whoever would have thought?
They're not all normies. What are you talking about?
No. Well, it's so funny. Like there is actually like we can do analysis later, but like there's a percentage of like really well-adjusted people, and then percentage like, dude, like, how did we get here today? You know what I mean? Like, smell's a rough thing, too, in there. Like, there's a couple of times where you go on these tables and you're like, ooh, this is, So, not to dissuade anyone, that's a tournament. That's, like, so far on the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
But seriously, get tagged into a community. Do what you need to do. There's nothing wrong with just collecting a few models and enjoying it that way. There's so many different ways to enjoy the hobby.
Yeah.
Get out there and have fun.
Just do Tabletop Simulator, or if you're into 3D printing, like, print to your heart's content.
Yeah. There may or may not be files out there. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, you can definitely get a lot of these files. And as long as you can eat the costs and the understanding and patience that it takes to do resin printing, you could really, like, allegedly I saw a guy with a Tau army, and he said he printed most of it.
Yeah.
And it's like that. Talk about the scale of money. It's like...
and FDM printing has gotten to the point, too, where that's a lot more accessible for the quality that you get.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And there's like techniques of why they do it, because they like, it's pretty cool concept, but basically like you print a square off to the corner, which gives the plastic enough time to cool a little bit, so then you can get higher fidelity instead of the plastic basically like a little bit of gravity. But yeah, when you keep putting on the new hot layer immediately, like you can kind of either get really bad layer lines, or also you can start really not getting the features as well as you should, because it's just kind of molding into each other. So, but sorry, that's 3D printing. I got in 3D printing. This is way back when, where FDN was not that good, but now I see new things where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So, and whole other thing, because now you can do FDN printing for the boards that you play on, and people do that. So there's like 17 other hobbies that are still within it, But hey, we gotta cut this off, boys. I totally appreciate it. Aaron, thank you so much for your time here. Mark, once again, thank you for doing another deep dive on this.
Yes.
We'll have to do some history with you and Aaron here.
Absolutely.
Because I would love to sit on the sidelines and be like, dude, Burr shot Hamilton, right? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So it'd be great. But.
Yes. So, yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Please reach out, as always, with questions, mix-up ideas, what-if ideas, episode ideas. If there's another deep dive or another lore franchise you want to learn about, let us know.
Yeah, or, hey, more Warhammer. We'd love to have come back and do all that. If you ask yourself, well, where should we reach out? You can do that on X or Instagram at the Live Laugh Lore Pod, or you could also email us at the livelaughLorePod@gmail.com. That's livelaughLorePod, POD, @gmail.com.
Thanks, guys.